Gaming History 101.
All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Gaming History 101, the Retro Video Games Podcast. I am one of your hosts. My name is Fred Rojas, and I am joined today by two extra special guests. We never get these guys in the studio, and I am so pleased to have them. From his off-Broadway premiere, we have none other than Jam the Jamster. How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm good, Fred. Thanks for having me on again.
Excellent,
I mean, it's my first time, whatever.
Well, you're breaking the GH101 bank, but I guess we'll make it through. And the highest paid employee to ever appear on this show, coming back from his pole dancing tour, is none other than Trees. What's going on, Mr. Rob?
All your checks bounced.
Yes, they did.
None of them are good. None of your ad money's coming in, apparently.
Yes, our ad money. All that ad money.
Mm-hmm.
But how you guys doing, man?
Good.
Good.
How
We're
you
partying
doing?
like it's Tuesday. I'm doing okay. We we didn't get anywhere near as much snow as the East Coast did. However, it was 60 degrees today, so it all melted. So everyone's basement flooded but mine. So I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you know what that's like too, Trees.
Oh, yeah. I used to. The headache's gone.
In fact, if you guys want to know a whole lot about home repair, I have learned many things in my tenure listening to your show, Easy Mode Unlocked.
Yeah, we should scrap the whole video game thing and just go with home improvement.
You really should. I've learned all kinds of stuff, including that apparently my attic has plenty of insulation.
Oh, man.
Or my basement.
Ugh.
I meant my attic. I'm aware of what parts there are.
Mm-hmm.
Fordengard wants to know why his check bounced.
Wow.
I think you should follow the pattern, buddy. Here, I'll send you an Xbox code, but if it doesn't work, don't blame me. Call Microsoft. Anyway, well, welcome. We're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff today. We've got some news articles. We have a very special reboot that's hitting that's near and dear to my heart. And I wrote a retrospective, which we're going to talk about, because it's the scariest retrospective in the world, because if you don't know what I'm talking about Strider. Those fans, and I'm sure both of you can attest to this, will fucking take your head off if you disrespect that game in the wrong way. So,
Really?
yeah, the Strider fans are a devout group. They're not blind though. They're not like Sonic fans.
Right.
They will accept your criticisms as long as they're well thought out and articulated. But anyway, we'll be talking about that, and then we decided, why not? Let's do a show about, this is actually, I'll tell you where this comes from, but we're doing a show about games that feature food. Whether that food be the pivotal part of the game, or as Trees pointed out, there are certain games where eating food is, oh, you want PSN codes? Okay, those won't work either, but I will definitely send them. Anyway, where food becomes the pivotal part in various facets. And right now in your heads, I'm sure every one of you listeners has one game or genre that integrates food that you can immediately see, because it was the easiest form back in the 80s, and then moving forward, of representing health and vitality and moving forward, you know. In fact, Zelda, the first game to feature no food, or inedible food. You got the meat log, but you couldn't eat it. But anyway, speaking of meat logs, and the reason I thought of this was because I was listening to my daughter watches My Little Ponies.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And Weird Al was recently on My Little Ponies, and it wasn't like a representation of Weird Al. He was fucking on it and did songs on it.
Nice. You don't watch it?
What?
Are you trying to act like you don't enjoy it when you sit there and watch it?
No, I admitted it in your forums. There's a
Yeah.
My Little Pony forum, and I know you've been on there, so I know you've read it.
I post lots of there's a Easy Mode Unlocked forums. There's a My Little Pony thread that has to be like 10 pages long now.
It's hilarious too, because it's made up of mostly women who watch the show because it's awesome, and men who watch the show seemingly because of their daughters. And then there's a brony documentary mixed in there somewhere.
Pretty good.
But when he was on, I said, Julie, you know the secret to Weird Al's success is, right? And she goes, oh, because he parodies real songs. And I was like, no, because he always sings about food. That was why Weird Al was the shit. That was why everyone listened to him, because he always sung about food. And then that spiraled into, what about a show about food? And so there you go. And thus it was born.
I got in the spirit today because I before we started recording, I was telling you guys I was running late, so I didn't eat anything. So I dipped in to get fast food,
Right.
which I never do. I don't eat fast food. I eat junk food.
I was going to
crap
say,
chips,
knowing what you eat while gaming,
Yeah,
I'm very surprised to hear that.
I eat a lot of frozen pizza, a lot of cereal, but I don't stop at like Burger Kings and Wendy's and stuff. And I stopped at a Wendy's, man, because I was hungry. I said, I haven't had Wendy's in like 5 years. I did not know. I fucked up because I did not know the names for the burgers. Right?
Okay, yes.
So I went to the drive-thru and I said, give me 2 singles with cheese, ketchup only, and a small fry and a drink. And the shit came to like $15.
Yes.
And I was like, what
Wow.
the fuck? And I pulled around. And she hands me these gigantic burgers.
Yeah,
I did
they're
not
quarter
know
pounders.
I did not know this. I was like, she's like $15. I was like, what the? I said I want to eat them, not send them to college. Like, I want to eat this fucking food.
Trees, not that you're going to go back anytime soon, but there is a burger that I particularly love at Wendy's, and actually when I'm like needing a snack, I like to get burgers because fries are super unhealthy. I can lie to myself and say at least there's a lot of meat in burgers, and I'm on a predominantly like large protein, large fruit and veggie diet
Right.
as a lifestyle choice. And so there's a Chipotle burger. It's a buck. Yeah, it's a buck, and it's just cheese, chipotle sauce, and jalapenos, and that's all a man needs.
Jam, do you have Wendy's over in the UK?
No, we don't have Wendy's. We've got the typical stuff like Mackie D's, Burger King. We've got a Wimpy. That's not Wendy's at all. It's something completely different.
It's good. It's a W.
Whippies.
Well, at Wendy's they sell a burger there called the Baconator.
Yeah.
So
No more
there you go.
American burger has ever graced this planet.
Yeah, I don't know why. America's fat.
Double cheeseburger and 6 strips of
Yeah.
bacon.
Yeah, I can't figure it out why we're obese.
We've also got a burger that actually this is staying ironically thematic. We've also got a burger at Hardee's or Carl's Jr. Those are big in Kansas. Before I moved here, I had no idea what they were. That's a steak or a Philly cheesesteak burger. It's a double cheeseburger, and in between 2 patties of meat, they put a full fucking Philly cheesesteak with the onions and the cheese and the strips of steak and everything in between the double cheeseburger.
Oh my god.
And I've never, like, not even on a joke have I eaten it. I'm sure it'd be fantastic, but I know I'd throw it up.
We have these restaurants, ice cream joints out here on the East Coast called Friendlies. I don't know if they ever made it.
I'm
that
familiar
far
with
in.
them, but we don't have them out here.
They have a grilled cheese super melt, and it's 2 grilled cheese sandwiches as the bun and a burger in between them, held together with a giant stick.
There you go. That's how you do it. So, Jam, what does England have to compete with that?
I was going to say, I don't know. I adore pub food, which is sometimes
We just sit you in a chair and inject you with straight fat.
pretty much. I mean, fish and chips are big down here. Well, at least in the area I'm in. But
Oh, yeah.
That's not a representation of the entire country, though. It's because I live fairly close to the coast, so you get a lot of that sort of stuff around here. But if you go to the wrong one around the corner, you're going to get a ton of grease in it. But it's not.
But isn't that like beer battered fish with like? I mean, do you guys do fries, or is it like more like when I went to an Irish pub, and I do very much realize that Ireland and England are 2 very different countries, but there were vinegar chips, like homemade chips, like actual like slice up the things in chips, and I really dug that. But once you put vinegar in there, you're kind of getting it a little healthy,
Yeah. No, the chips, we do have fries, but I think only the fast food places do that, which, funnily enough, the American places do that, like McDonald's and Burger King. But I mean, generally speaking, So most places, like, they do. There's the chips, but without the vinegar stuff in it. It's just they're chunky chips. Essentially, they're probably just as healthy for you, actually, to be honest. But they're all fried, it's like deep fat fried or whatever you call them in most places I go to. But, but
you know who knows how to fucking party though, when it comes to bad food? Was my wife and I went to Maui on our honeymoon.
Yeah.
And we, this is something she promised I'd never admit to. So here we go. We were too full to fuck one night. Like, it was that bad. We went to this place that had garlic fries, and we just ordered them, whatever, and this big Samoan bitch was like, do you know what garlic fries are here? Because you guys have ordered sandwiches on top of it. And we were like, no. And she goes, we make fries, we fry them in peanut oil, then we take them out, and we dip them, soak them, in fact, for 3 minutes in garlic butter.
Ugh.
And then we pull them out and coat them with feta cheese.
Jesus Christ, man.
And we were like, yes. And I guess that's an appetizer in Hawaii.
Oh, God.
So
what's that show? What's that show? I used to watch it on BBC America. So I don't know if but it was like a skinny lady, and it was like a show where she'd help people lose weight, and she'd always like fat shame these people. Like she'd berate them. And then she'd take a stool sample. That's how you know it's on American TV. God. And then she'd tell them why they're so fat, because what they're eating. And then she'd put all the food on the table that they'd eat in a week. They'd be like, this is what you eat in a week. Just be like, like Thanksgiving dinner. And she'd just fat shame them. It was great.
I'm not sure that one. There's a show similar. It might be the same one. There's a show called Super Size versus Super Skinny that basically they do that whole show them what they're eating and they put it in like a big cement mixer and stuff. And it's just, it's the grossest thing you see. But that's, I don't think that's what you're talking about because that wouldn't be on BBC America. It sounds familiar though.
It's called Top Gear.
No. The lady's great. She's so mean. And I'm like, you never get away with this over here. You got to be nice to everybody over here, but unless you offend somebody. But she was just calling people fat. Look at you. Take your clothes off. Just put them in their underwear. Look at that.
Yeah, just public humiliation.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, wow. What are we talking about here, Fred? What's going on?
Yeah, what is the show about?
Food. But real quick, so Trees grabbed fast food, and he bought an entire cow in burger form. And I don't know, anything else go on with you guys this week that's worth talking about?
No.
Okay, well, I got one thing. I got the Guy game.
Oh, damn.
I don't know if you guys saw me tweeting about this. Trees, you know the Guy game?
Yeah, I saw it.
No. What's this?
Okay, the Guy game was an Xbox and PlayStation 2 game that came out.
Ooh,
and it had chicks in it getting naked at spring break.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's all it was, right? You'd answer dumb questions, right?
Yeah, and they'd take their shirts off. And there would be, the mosaic, like you're watching a hentai porn or something. And then eventually they, or at least I've heard. And then eventually, full-blown boobs. And there was a rumor that one of the girls was 17. And then she turned out to actually be 17, and they pulled it from the market.
And you got a copy?
Yes, this fucking game has become a little bit of a rarity. But it's one of those things, I hate to lump it with this one because Derek's going to kick my ass, but and James, sorry, not James, Yuri's going to fucking kill me over buying this because he kept trying to talk me out of it the whole time. Well, I didn't buy it, so there's at least that. But anyway, it's one of those things where it's rare, but and it might fetch a high price. This place wanted $25 for it or $30 or something, and online I've seen it as high as like 70 or 80. But no one's really buying it. It's like the Atari Lynx is what I was going to say that Derek's probably going to kill me over because the Lynx has a really high price, but no one wants it, so it just kind of sits there with a high price tag. And so I was looking at it and I was like, do I want it? Do I not? Do I want it? Do I not? And then the guy at the retro store, and it's kind of a local place. It's a mom and pop store. He's looking and he's like, you're looking at that Guy game a lot. There's boobs in it, I promise. And I was like, no, it's not like that. I was like, I do this site and it's one of those things where I know I can make fun of it. And so I'm wondering if I want to cover it because it's, it's something that people can't really find. And he goes, it's a shit game. And I was like, I know. And he goes, well, what's your site? And he looks it up, and I'm buying some other stuff. I actually did buy some other stuff at the time. I bought a SNES copy of Doom because I'm going to do a bunch of comparison videos of all the versions of Doom that are on home consoles because I think I officially have them all now. And I bought a couple other things. I bought Burger Time for this show, and I bought a couple other games. And my total was like $70 or something. And he was like, you know what? Tell you what, because you're buying this, if you promise to cover it on the site, I'll throw this shitty game in there. He goes, but you got to be snarky. I was like, okay, but I'm not going to do any video because apparently there's a 17-year-old girl in it. And he goes, okay. And so I got it for free. So I now have the guy game. I haven't started playing it yet, but apparently there are 20 quote-unquote babes that I can get to dehumanize themselves on a video game.
Awesome.
And what has easily got to be the best way to stereotype every gamer known to man and bring us down just a couple more notches.
So is this replacing the Buffy Game Club?
Yes. No. No. But I will be playing it tonight, so we'll see how that article turns out tomorrow, hopefully. But it will be written, boys and girls. Maybe I can do some screen grabs once I confirm it's not the 17-year-old. I don't even know if people care, and there's not going to be any nudity, but, you know. But, no. The Buffy Game Club's still on. By the way, Jam, how's that coming along for you? It's next week, Trees.
Was it next week? Oh, no, I'm almost at the end, actually. I'm not too far. I don't know where you're up to, Fred. But
I'm in the demon world.
The demon world. I've just done I finished the doc. I've gone back to the school basically, and I've defeated the other guy.
Yep.
That doc level, I just hated it. I think I was just playing it at the wrong time.
No, the docs are terrible. We'll talk about it next week, but the docs are terrible. Anytime you play them. That one and what's the other one? The Train Yard. You're just going to have to just power through them.
all I'll say is most regular train ever.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. They don't run like that in my town. But anyway. But yeah, we're playing through that. Tree's surprisingly good game if you've never played it. And if you're a super fucking dork and you're like me, I'm literally rewatching season 3 of Buffy right now because it fits somewhere in that timeline.
That's I never watched the series, but that's the Xbox game, right?
Yes.
Original Xbox?
Not Chaos Bleeds, the sequel that was all over the place. Just the
original
solo
one
Xbox one, yeah.
Yeah, because I did play that. I played some of it. I remember bits and pieces. Could you kick people into the trains?
You could, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I
that's a big
that.
part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay because they're vampires.
It's not a bad game. That's a pretty good game.
No, it's a really good game, but it starts off really hard. It's front heavy on the difficulty, and then it comes back again. Jam, when you get to the demon world, we'll talk next week.
Yeah.
But, and I've been capturing my entire playthrough, so I got to piece it together. But there is an amazing version of David Boreanaz that I have to make sure makes the video. Which, by the way, Trees, I do gameplay video over the podcast and post them on YouTube now. So,
nice.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Right now, people are probably looking at gameplay of Strider, the arcade game, while this is going on. But anyway, well, cool. Well, then I guess we'll jump into news before jumping into food shit. So, let's see here. So Jam has been kind enough to collaborate a little list here for us. We did not give you this list, Trees. We didn't trust you with the news stories.
No? Oh, man. I like news.
Well, I guess we'll just go back and forth then, Jam.
Sure.
Do you want to go first? Yeah, you want to go first.
So I start from the top of the list or just random?
Yeah, absolutely. Or whatever you want to do. Fuck it, I can improvise.
Yeah, well, that's what we'll do. So there's a small news story that I've read into a little bit, but I haven't found. My computer just wasn't uploading the documents about it. Basically, some unreleased documents were released about the Super Nintendo CD-ROM drive, and they've come online. And there's some vague rumor that some people are looking into maybe reproducing a console that would work, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I linked the article to you, Fred. But I tried to get the documents up myself before the show happened, but I couldn't. So I couldn't actually see.
Oh, I do have the documents. I've read them.
You do? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you managed to see. I just couldn't get them up. So,
no, yeah, it depends on your source. I don't know if the source you gave me was as strong. I saw it when it first leaked. So I'll let you talk about one part, and then I'll wrap up what it actually does. So.
Well, basically, this is the infamous project that Nintendo was working on with Sony before the PlayStation occurred, and it was the successor to the Super Nintendo. But obviously, well, I think you've talked about this before, haven't you, Fred? This whole thing fell through, and obviously, Sony decided to just say fuck it to Nintendo and make the PlayStation instead, and was ridiculously successful with that instead. Basically, and the SNES CD was never came to fruition, really.
Yeah, they decided to partner with Philips to do all their CD-ROM games, and there's Mario Wacky Worlds. That's a thing, which isn't a release thing, and we can definitely thank them for the lovely Zelda games. If you guys have never watched YouTube videos of this shit, absolutely. I have a Philips CDI, and I have never sought these games out because I will not I'll do stupid shit like play the guy game when somebody gives it to me for free, but I'm not putting my dick in a blender. I'm not paying $200 for a game I know sucks. It's just not. It's against my religion.
Oh,
and that silence the room. Okay. So in these documents, it kind of gives a. It was NOA, Nintendo of America's, just kind of basic configuration as to how the console would work. It's not unlike that of the Sega CD, to be honest with you. Which it should be noted at the time of this, Sega CD wasn't a thing yet. It was rumored, but they didn't have anything, ready for it. It follows the traditional dimensions: 242 millimeter by 200 millimeter by 74 millimeter. That is the exact dimensions of the Super Famicom, as well as the Satellaview, or the BS, the Bandai Satellaview, I think, system. It ran a 9-watt AC adapter. I'm guessing at probably 110 or 220 volts AC, depending on your region. And basically, this was how it was going to work. So you've got this SNES CPU working, but there would be a 2 megabit mask ROM on the front end that would be shared between the two consoles to allow Super NES games to kind of have a buffer while the disc was reading. Then they would additionally share an additional PS RAM. What this all really means is it's just additional memory that the Super NES can use without having to depend upon the CD-ROM. Then obviously you've got the Hyper Advanced Nintendo Data Transfer System, or HANS, decoder. And what it basically was it was an 8 megabit DRAM and 4 megabit inside DRAM, so like twin DRAMs working together to basically move a ton of information in a 32-bit console to the Super NES. And again, the result would probably be something I would say very similar to the original versions of the PlayStation, or at least. For all intents and purposes, from what I'm seeing with the specs, it looks like, the PlayStation's not a whole lot different than what we see here. So that design was basically just added in to, to just kind of work with the Super NES, and then later on they had to make an onboard, self-contained unit. But it's really cool, and yes, with those specs, you can almost create it. And if they did, that would be cool, but... unless some ROMs leak, like the good version of Seiken Densetsu 2 or Secret of Mana, hard-pressed to see the value. I love the homebrew scene, but usually it only nets 1, maybe 2 good games. So that's the only downside to reverse engineering something like this.
I was going to say, it would be a total homebrew console, because there's just nothing to play on it. So even if you recreated it, you'd have to come up with some sort of software.
Yeah, like the Dreamcast. No,
yeah,
I'm kidding. I kid.
They just released a Dreamcast shooter last week.
Yep, we talked about it. Yeah, it's and they keep making stuff. Pier Solar is supposed to come out soon.
HD.
That Kickstarter is going to start releasing its Dreamcast games to the masses soon. So, okay, next up. Cliffy B says he's done with disc-based games and asserted that the current industry model relying on Game Informer cover reveals and E3 announcements is dead. In other news, an E3 announcement totally blew everyone away. No, not entirely retro, but an interesting concept. I agree. The whole concept of this may be the point where developers are like, we really don't care what the industry is doing, and we really don't care what the public is doing. We're gonna. This is the beginning of that publisher backlash where they're like, we're gonna fucking force you to change. And I think this is kind of important because Cliffy B is, along with Randy Pitchford, the two individuals who said, actually, I almost think Cliffy B was for the 360. Wasn't Cliffy B the one who said there's not enough fucking RAM on this thing because it was going to be 256 megs of RAM on the 360? He said if you don't make it 512, Gears doesn't come to your console. It's just a fact. And that was why we got 512 in the 360. And then I think Randy Pitchford is responsible for saying 4 gigs was too little, go 8 gigs of DDR on the Xbox One. Which is ironic because Gearbox really hasn't released anything for it yet. But anyway.
Yeah.
But it is kind of interesting. And I don't know, what do you guys think? As a person who leans pretty heavily into the PC these days, I don't really have a problem with not getting a tangible product, but on consoles I still tend to buy disc just so that I have the option to trade in, even though I haven't traded in anything in probably about a year now.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I don't buy new games. I tend to recycle all my stuff, And I gotta admit, when I traded in my 360 so I could get an Xbox One, I just, I had a pile of shame still for my 360 that I had to just sort of mentally let go. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But when I erased that hard drive on the 360 to trade it in, I that's like 7 years of me collecting games from the, Xbox Live Arcade or whatever. And, it hurt a little.
I cannot believe you gave that up. I never will.
Yeah, that's quite shocking.
Gone. Clean it out.
But I have a whole game room, so I had a place to put it.
I used to have a game room.
I know you did.
Slowly, I've been just letting stuff go. You know what I mean? Especially more of the modern stuff. I understand collecting the old shit. I have some old stuff here, but what do you do? Collect 360 games?
Well, and here's why, though, Trees. You're the reason why. You expressed it perfectly on Easy Mode recently. You said you want to play Guitar Hero 2, right?
I did.
And it was such a fucking chore, you were like, forget it.
Yeah, forget it.
Right? Am I right?
And it just saved me shelf space.
True. And so I'm not going to deny that. But if you were at my house, there would be 4 guitars in the basement.
Uh-huh.
And GH2 would be available either for your PS2 skinny system, which, by the way, I was thinking about mailing you the whole kit. Just so you can get to play it, because you do that for a lot of people, and so I want to return the favor. Or if you want to, I can send you my 360 copy of GH2 if you've... Oh, wait, you sold your 360,
It's
didn't
gone.
you?
Clean it out, man.
Well...
I'm not going to look back. It's like...
If you want to donate your guitars to the museum, I'll send you a UPS label where you can mail it to me. But,
but yeah, I mean, that was a hesitation on the format button for the 360 for a second.
Shit.
I went through my hard drive and I was just flipping through all the games, and that stuff I haven't even touched or beat, and it's like, you know what? I haven't done it yet. Some of these things have been sitting on this hard drive for 5 years, and it's like, yeah, see you later.
You know what, though? You know what the flip side of that, though, is, Trees? Unlike the Wii, if you happen to, be out at the bars or something and walk out and some girl, kicked her boyfriend out of her apartment and stuck his 360 on the side of the road, and you just kind of look left, look right, pick it up, and go home, you can resync that with your gamer tag and have it all back. So that is kind of a cool side to modern-day technology.
Yeah.
So you really didn't give any of those away. You're just not really making use of them right now, which is not very different than what you were doing before.
Whatever helps you sleep. If you need those scenarios.
I don't need to tell myself that. I just keep all this shit for better or for worse.
But, I tend to like physical copies of stuff, but...
I don't like them as much anymore. I've been ditching them all. My Steam library is pretty significant these days as I start archiving them to my Steam library.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think with these new systems, like the Xbox One, what's that, a 500 gig hard drive right now?
Yeah.
those games are pretty big.
You guys have to embrace the reality like we all Steam users have always done, which is you just delete them as you're done with them.
Yeah.
I fucking deleted AC4 from my hard drive on my PS4. There is no reason to keep that 40 gigs full. I'm done with it. And if I go back to it, maybe.
You're right. So I guess I'm one of these guys that needs to be sort of kicked in the ass and be like, tough. You're right. No, honestly, tough, you have no choice. You can't buy a physical copy now. You have to download it. Then I would. I've done it. I've done it before. I've downloaded full games of stuff before, but
well, I don't know, Jam. What are your thoughts? Because I had a buddy who had a very interesting take on that as well. He freaked out at me.
Ooh.
So,
well, I mean,
what's your preference?
Just so you guys, I do like physical copies, but obviously very recently I've now been with things like the Vita and with the PC. It's just too hard to resist sort of the deals you can get with digital downloading, really, and just you can get so many games for so little these days. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of the digital downloading with, like, I think you mentioned this on the B Team thread, where like the 3DS eStore, if the full game is the same price on the downloads as the physical copy, you might as well just have the physical copy because then you can sell it later. Obviously. But
even if you're not going to, it's always great to have that option.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would always I think we all have that nostalgia for the physical copy, but I think as the further as the future keeps going, we're all going to have to realise nobody's got a big enough game room for all these games. So
no.
Except for that one dude in Jersey. But and maybe Jeff Gersman. It sounds like instead of filling that house with human beings, he's going to fill it with video games. But
and it's also a generation game, right? I mean, a kid that's just getting into video gaming now, right? Mm-hmm. He's gonna grow up with that anyways. I mean, that's going to be his first choice that's what he's going to know.
Right.
And Jam, you're what, in your 20s, right?
Late 20s.
Late 20s. So I mean, yeah, so it's like you've been dealing with it, for most of your life, and someone like me, I've been buying cartridges for 30 years.
Yeah, Trees is going on 67. So you guys don't know. They've been trying to get him to retire, but
yeah, so I mean, 30 years of collecting something, it's tough to get that out of you. You know what I mean?
Well, and you have those weird things. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like for me, it's like I have a perfect, pristine boxed copy of Trees remembers this. I hunted down a copy of Raiden on the Jaguar.
Awesome, yeah.
Fantastic port of that game. I cannot wait to play it sometime.
It's the best bass in any of those versions.
Hell yeah, dude. And I can't wait to hook it up to some speakers. I got some speakers hooked up, and I got the Jaguar S video cable. Best way you can do that. And so, yeah, I'm looking to do that, but I went out of my way to get that box copy. Meanwhile, my copy of Snatcher has a West Coast video rental sticker splashed across it. And some guy named Ken wrote his name in Sharpie on it.
Oh, that's rough.
But the data side is in perfect shape. And, something like that, it's like, what am I going to pay to get a good copy of Snatcher? Mm-hmm. Fuck that.
And I also think, again, that's a more retro thing where I think some of the classic boxes and stuff are more like almost like having a piece of art with some sort of weird thing where, you're not saving a 360 box. There's nothing about any 360 box that's like, I got to keep this because it's awesome. Whereas a Raiden box for the Jaguar or a Snatcher for the Sega CD is just like, look at this thing. Like, this is almost like I could hang this up,
Oh, most definitely.
So
I'll give it that. Yeah, no, you're totally right there.
So, I mean, there's a lot of differences. And like you said, I think it's just a matter of people taking that leap, right? And telling you this is how it's going to be. If there's some of the systems coming out now, we laugh at them, the Ouya and stuff like that. But look, man, it's like, that's the future anyways, I guess. All download. So, look how small those things are.
I'm ready to embrace it.
Yeah.
You know what they need to do? Have you guys ever seen MacGruber?
Yep.
They need to start releasing games as big old fucking Blaupunkt hard drives that you have to just jam into the console. And once you've got to start carrying that shit around and find archive space for it, and the failure rate and everything, then they'll start.
Like PlayStation 4, right? They should just make their own TV. without a disc
There you
drive.
go.
And you
There
just download everything right to the TV. You know what I'm saying? Like, why not?
That's not streaming or something.
Yeah, not even streaming.
Yeah, my only
Just
fear
screw it.
is look at the fucking cable boxes of today. You want to talk about something they put like no processing power into? I swear to God, my watch has a stronger processor than my smart TV. But yeah, I mean,
But
it's getting there.
You tell me the guts of a PS4 can't be slapped on the back of a TV set?
Oh, I know they can.
You know
Or
what I mean?
you know what the bigger selling point to that is the Vita. The Vita is definitely capable of handling anything. And I don't know, Trees, if you've seen a 2-scale Vita TV yet, but my cell phone is bigger than that.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's where I know, holy shit, this is the good enough at the size of a postage stamp. But no, you're right. You're right.
But like I said, we'll get away from the original, whatever the news story was. But
Yeah, I was gonna say, well,
I'm old school. I still like collecting stuff. But yes, I think you're right. I think down the road, someone will just make that decision. Like, no, this is the way it is. There's no more physical copies, and we'll all get used
there
to
you
it.
have it. Yeah.
I'm old school for retro stuff, absolutely. Like, the manual and the cart, but I'm talking more for moving forward. So-
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. There is that collector's side, which definitely will always live on. And God, I hope. You know what? Actually, I know we've been talking shit on him, but Jeff Gersman actually kind of best pointed this out on a Giant Bomb recently, where he was talking. People were talking about grabbing copies of Deadpool and Too Human and stuff like that. And he goes, manufacturing, demand, and distribution of video games is so widespread and commonplace from the
Right.
last gen that these concepts of rarity and trying to find stuff and lost arts is completely removed from the last generation. So it won't even...
Yeah, they're not worth nothing. It's kind of like when the Star Wars prequels came out and everybody went to Toys R Us at midnight to get toys.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, this ain't the 70s, man. There are plenty of those toys out right now. So,
yeah, we've gotten better at it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
it's just the difference of it.
All right. Jam, you're up.
Oh, we still do news stories, so...
I kind of wanted to skip over the Twitch one, but we can go with it if you want to.
No, we'll skip over the Twitch one, because that one, I don't know if anyone's interested in that one. So, Radiant Silvergun... Sorry?
I said, I'm not.
No, so I'll go to the next one. So, Radiant Silvergun. Is this in the Shmup Game Club, Fred? Do you know?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's, if anyone's interested, it's half off at the moment on the Xbox Live Marketplace. Unless you're Trees, who sold his Xbox, then you can't get that now.
But you can still buy it for half off, Trees, and play it on your non-existent Xbox.
Balls, man.
Yeah. But worthwhile announcement for
Or
anyone
you can
that wants...
pay $300 and have it on Saturn.
Yeah.
But that's cool. Yeah, it's $5. A lot of people were under the misunderstanding that the rare shmup that was from Treasure that we did was going to be Ikaruga. It's not. It is Radiant Silvergun. So to go over the list real quick, it's Cinemora, Power Up, Radiant Silvergun, Gigawing 2, which is a Dreamcast game, and then last but not least is
Velocity.
Thank you. Velocity Ultra. Velocity or Velocity Ultra. So those are the games for the Game Club for March. Playing lots of shmups. And last but not least, that we should probably talk about it. So Double Helix, who was for all intents and purposes, I wasn't very pleased with a lot of their work in the past. And as of late, they've really shown their colors with Killer Instinct 3 and now Strider, which the reviewers are eating up. I can't wait to start it. I'm going to be starting it tomorrow for a review for Gaming History 101. Hopefully I'll have something live for the weekend. But Strider's out, and so I decided to do a Strider retrospective. Now, to be clear, while I touch on the other games in the series, I dealt mostly with Strider, the arcade game. So have you guys played, or are you familiar with Strider, the arcade game?
I played Strider for the Genesis.
Okay, which is the same game.
So
for the most part.
Yep.
So, how about you, Jam?
Mega Drive and Master System.
How is the Master System port?
Ooh, it's not as good as
that good, huh?
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, some people people like it. I mean, it's okay, but it's not. It's no. Some people really defend it. A bit like you were saying, Fred, earlier about some of these Strider sort of. I don't know what fanboys or Strider elitists.
I guess, yes, Striderettes. I don't want to offend Strider, which is the Strider that's from the EasyMU community, who is the only Strider I know.
That's right.
But he's very respectful. Again, as long as you respect his game, he'll respect you. So, yeah, like I said, I played the arcade game last night for video for this. I forgot how much that game fucking just ruins you. You will die 1,000,000 times in this game. Like 1,000,000 plus 2. Now, the Mega Drive Genesis version is a little easier, and there are adaptations to a lot of the dickhead level designs. There's rumors that this was internally developed, the Genesis version, at Capcom with the help of Sega. But yeah, it was an interesting game where basically they made the arcade game, the NES game, and the manga all as 3 different projects all at the same time through Capcom. And the arcade game ushered in the new CP series, which is responsible for those kind of cartoon graphics you see with like Ghouls and Ghosts, Final Fight, things like that. And then eventually CP2 would premiere Street Fighter 2. And then there was the NES game, which was supposed to piggyback a sequel to the manga. And then there was the manga. The manga never released in America. The NES game never released in Japan. So there's a bit of a disconnect there. But it was kind of a Metroid-style game where it was an open world. You could kind of go anywhere. And you would interweave between the planets. And I remember the graphics and sound were badass at the time. And on Genesis, it's still considered, by many people, justifiably so, as the best game on the platform. I don't know if I would go that far with it, but it was fucking good looking.
You know what?
That game looks good.
I don't remember ever beating that game. I just remember.
Most don't.
I just remember turning that game on to show people.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
what I remember about it. I remember sliding around, slicing people, not getting very, very far. I remember floating around in some dome. You know, you were like,
yep. There
right?
was a dome with the gravity boss.
Yeah,
you played the gravity sphere twice in that game, but yeah.
I remember doing that. I remember some gorilla.
Was that in
that?
The cyborg gorilla is probably one of the most pivotal moments because you're like just cruising along in the game. I think it's in the second level, and you just go through this door, and you're like, "Fucking cyborg gorilla!" Like, and it just sits there, like it doesn't really do anything.
I remember you'd run into big stuff and just like slice it a few times and it would blow up. Like, I remember there was like big, huge shit just for the sake of being big and huge. It would be in your way. You just slice it. But that's all I remember about that game, man. And people talk fondly about it, like Strider. And I'm like, I know nothing about the story, the character. All I know is I used to turn it on and go, look at that shit.
That shit insane.
Look at that shit where you go home on your NES.
Like, a perfect metaphor for that game, and I talk about it in the article, is when you beat the game, you see a whale swimming in the middle of the ocean. And he just fucking hang glides in and stands on it proudly in the Superman pose.
It's pretty good.
For no reason whatsoever. And you just watch him stand there proudly on a whale, you know, like you do. And that is the perfect metaphor for what that game is. Also, going along with the big mechanical ape, there is a big mechanical T-Rex as one of the bosses, which I liken to Godzilla and King Kong. I don't know if that's intentional, but it's Japan. There's a pretty high likeliness. But it is one of the craziest socialist post-Cold War, neo-future kind of cyberpunk games I've ever played. And so it is a treat to behold, but it's very difficult to kind of get into it nowadays if you didn't grow up with it. So I beat the whole game on the arcade for this episode. So
nice. Feel
free to go check that out if interested. And then there was a sequel. The sequel was on PS1 and in arcades. And apparently it's very difficult to get it to run in MAME, but it does run. It's a lot of fun, and the version I played last night was they give you a copy of the arcade game free with the PlayStation 1 one, so that's what I played.
Now, was that the news story?
That was the news story.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be Double Helix. What game company did Amazon buy?
Double Helix.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought the news story was going to be. And then you just started talking about Strider, and I was like, was that it?
They made Strider. We don't care that Amazon wants to put them to work on some Android console. We've seen how well that works out.
I was thinking about that the other day, that whole Amazon thing, and I'm like, man, they're going the wrong route. Like, how crazy would it be if Amazon hired like or bought like a game developer, like a good one, like a AAA one? And can you imagine if a game like The Last of Us, some developer made like a top tier game like Last of Us, but Amazon owned it and you can only buy it on Amazon? Can you imagine that?
That will happen probably by the end of the year.
That's awesome. That's what I was thinking when I originally heard that story. I was like, man, imagine if they could start releasing games that you had to have, but you could only buy it through them.
Oh, man. And we won't talk about it too much, but you want to talk about rioting in the streets is, again, I kind of mentioned this with my buddy. My buddy watched me go buy on Origin, which is EA's, version of Steam.
Is that even open anymore?
Yeah.
Still running?
Yeah, no, it exists. It's how you buy Titanfall. And I went and pre-bought it in digital form. He was like, what the fuck? You just paid $40 and all that happened was the Titanfall icon went from red to green. And I was like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. I'm like, it's the same thing that happens when you go and buy it on Xbox One in a couple of weeks. But he just couldn't get it through his head. And yeah, I mean, Titanfall being on Origin is a point of contention for a lot of people. So everyone wants it on Steam, which is just a DRM platform. You were saying it the other night. Rob was. Valve did two things. It made a couple of big games, and it's a store.
That's right. Yeah. Rob likes to
say
stuff
in making no friends for that.
No.
That went over like a fart in church, I'll tell you that much.
Made me laugh.
Yeah, no, it was great. Well, because he's kind of right, but still. By the way, last news story. This is a rumor. No, actually, I'll confirm it. Half-Life 3, not fucking coming out this year, so you can just keep waiting, guys. Anyway.
Inside scoop.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't need a psychic line or nothing. All right, well, let's talk about food-based games. Fuck it, we got an hour.
There we go. Still doing that? I thought we were going to do that next week.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Nobody messes with Buffy.
Food.
By the way, we're probably going to forego news and everything next week just for all Buffy. All the time.
Sounds good.
All Buffy.
We have 23 levels to cover, Trees.
It's a long
fucking game. But anyway, let's talk about food games.
Bust out the list.
Sure.
Bust out this list. Where's this list?
You do have the list, Trees. I emailed it to you.
Oh, yeah? Where is it?
Yeah.
Oh, you emailed it. Who uses email? Jesus Christ.
Oh, well, we don't have a website dedicated to the list. But, all right. Well, I don't know. Who wants to go first? So I'm going first. Okay. Number one game, it's top of Jam's list, and it makes perfect sense, is let's just start with it. Pac-Man. If ever a game. The game that not only hit so hard it got its own song in the 70s, but it is a game solely about eating, which apparently the Japanese say is why women like it. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll let that one sit by itself.
Yeah.
Let that one sit out there with you. I'm not saying nothing.
But it is a game all about eating.
And conceived from food, too.
Yes, wasn't he a pizza or something?
Yeah, the guy was eating a pizza and he took one slice out and said, hey, I got an idea for a game.
Pac-Man.
You know?
That is correct. So, I don't know what else to say about Pac-Man other than, do you remember when the fruit used to come and kind of bounce across the screen?
Well, Miss Pac-Man, the food bounced around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it just popped up in the middle.
Yeah,
for
Pac-Man. It just
OG Pac-Man.
stayed, and it was weird, right? Because it went from food to like keys and bells and shit. Like they just forgot they ran out of fruit groups, I guess.
That's right.
And it just and then it was a Galaga symbol. One of the Galaga ships was like the highest thing.
Yes.
So that's
right.
a weird one. But if you go to Miss Pac-Man, at least you get you can tell they're thinking. Like the first one was like with all those cult games back then, right? They never knew what would be popular, right? And so Pac-Man took the world by storm, and they're like, holy shit. And of course, everybody played games in bars and shit. So then Miss Pac-Man, you can tell because there's like pretzels and shit bouncing around. The second one has bar food bouncing around and shit. But
actually, if you guys have ever seen the movie Joysticks,
I have.
Yeah, that's on YouTube if you haven't.
Yeah,
it's
at the end they have a big tournament where they play on a giant joystick.
Yes, and it's that game is or that movie is 80s arcade version of Porky's kind of, but only not as funny. But there's that big fat dude who's playing Miss Pac-Man, remember? And he's got the beer in both holsters.
Yeah.
He's double gunning beer, and he's got all that popcorn, and he's just throwing popcorn all over the cabinet, and my heart's melting the whole time. I'm like, fucking dude. But, yeah.
Miss Pac-Man. Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Miss Pac-Man. A lot of, food. Nothing I
Eating
would
food.
Nothing I would eat. Fruit. Get out of here.
No, you know which one did work on me, though, in the Pac-Man game? The fucking pretzel. Every time I saw that, I wanted a big soft pretzel with some nacho cheese. Hell yeah.
You know there
can
was
tell.
You know there was supposed to be a bear bouncing out after that, but they just couldn't do it. That's all.
I did hear a rumor about martinis or something.
That would have made sense. She likes to unwind.
No, Pac-Man's not sophisticated. Have you seen the cartoon?
Miss
He's
Pac-Man.
blue collar as they come.
Yeah,
fucking tie and everything.
Make it a Cosmo. Miss Pac-Man,
Okay.
unwinding.
Okay.
But, and technically, we don't know what pellets and power pellets are. But they ate them. It was food
It's
for
speed, dude. It's 70s MDMA. It was the diet pills.
that. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Help you clean the house and feel good, too. Yeah.
Caffeine pills. He dug them. Even on the cartoon, they was eating them.
Dude, when you pop the big one, man, that's dropping acid. Oh, shit turns blue and you can eat ghosts. Come on.
Cannibalism, Phil.
Yeah, you don't have to think much outside the box to understand what was going on in Pac-Man. That was like a stoner and acid dropper's wet dream.
Yeah.
It basically was 1969 all wound into one arcade game.
To beat the pack, you must be the pack. Remember that Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Mm-hmm.
Remember they were in Spicoli?
Fucking Ace Spicoli, yeah.
Waxing poetic.
Still
on Pac-Man.
contested Sean Penn's best work.
His stoner friends are wondering how he's so good at Pac-Man in the mall. He just gives them that nice little speech. To beat the pack.
Yeah, I gotta.
To beat the pack, you must be the pack. They're all like, oh.
Yeah, I do remember that. That movie. That movie had Judge Reinhold in it. It really did. But anyway, so yeah, Pac-Man.
Pac-Man.
Where do you go from Pac-Man?
You go down those. I would say though, Pac-Man. I don't know why it's on the top of the list.
Blame me.
Well, you know what I mean?
Because
but-
we're a retro game and it's
No, but
we're
I
a
mean,
retro
there's
thing and it's the oldest game that we could think of that had food in it.
Yeah, but I would not say food is the prominent thing in that game. I think there's other retro games where food is more prominent than Pac-Man.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Oh yeah, and we will.
Yeah, stop kissing Pac-Man.
Like what? Like what?
Like the
Why
next,
don't you give me an example, Trees?
like
Yeah,
the next
Trees.
one on the list, Burger Time.
Which is Burger Time. Okay.
That's all about food.
Yeah.
You're running on food. You're killing food, murdering food, seasoning food.
Yeah, there was always that latent. Like, I was playing it last night, and it's on the video here. And there's something kind of ominous and creepy about the movement of the wiener.
Oh yeah.
You know, there was
Sausage.
something. Yeah, and again, I'm not usually one to pull, weird, like, homophobic references out of a video game, but there was something sketchy about the egg, too, but the egg didn't look like anything.
Mm-hmm.
The wiener wasn't right.
It's a frosting.
Yeah, he seemed a little aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't. When I was a kid, Burger Time was big. When I was a kid, I used to watch the kids playing in the arcade and shit. And I never understood the eggs. Like putting an egg on a burger was the most fucked up thing to me when I was a kid.
What?
And to this day, I wouldn't put an egg on no burger.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Farmer's Burgers.
No.
Yeah, sunny
Yeah.
side up, baby. Virtually raw.
What's the matter with you?
Oh, yeah.
Cheese only. Ketchup. Cheese and ketchup,
No,
man.
those cheese and ketchup come and join the party too.
Yeah.
But
an egg?
but the egg is there. Yeah.
I always remember that when I was just like, what the kind of fucked up game is this? Put egg on a burger, man. Gross.
Doesn't it seem like someone's weird pipe dream, though? Like, I always imagine the guy from Bob's Burgers has the burger time nightmare.
Yeah.
And it's a tough game. I mean, you want to talk about having to memorize pattern recognition and multitasking.
Mm-hmm.
When a pack of weenies gets on your ass, and I realize what that just sounded like, it's unnerving. Like, I felt true tension.
Oh dear, this is not helping.
Sorry. If you watch the video, Jesus Christ. All right, if you watch the video though, like it was, like I said, I felt true anxiety when I was trying to wrap up a level, and everyone's just kind of gunning for you because there's only one spot, you've got left to clear to build the burgers. And by the way, if you guys haven't played these games, you're going to have to look them up. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to help you out too much. But basically, you're a chef assembling big burgers. And who are your enemies? The pickle, the weenie, and the egg? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Or is there even a pickle? Maybe it's just weenies and eggs. Is it just weenies and eggs?
I think it's weenies and eggs. The pickle sounds familiar, though.
Well, there's pickle on the burger.
Yeah.
Did you also notice that in that there's like an item that goes on the burger that I don't know what it is? It kind of looks like a big stick of butter or something.
It's the cheese, ain't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
I think.
Mystery solved. Thanks.
That sounds right?
Sounds right.
Yeah.
I don't know. So you saw it in the arcades. Did you play it much?
Yeah, because, as hard as it was when you actually played it, the concept of it is really simple. And when you just have to see someone play it once and you're like, I get it. Like, you know what you have to do. It's just tough. But yeah, so even as like an 8-year-old or something, you could grasp it, play some Burger Time, And
oh yeah.
That's mostly what I remember about Burger Time too, is just that era anyways of being in an arcade, Because I remember when it came home to like I remember having it for the Atari, and it was shit. Like,
I was gonna say, I wonder what the 2400
Oh,
doesn't look
or 2600 version looks like.
It doesn't look good. You can look it up. It doesn't look.
it's so blocky.
Yeah, in the arcade, I remember even as a kid, like that shit looked futuristic. Like when the eggs would turn, they would flip. They look 3D. Stuff had a 3D look to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, Burger Time was a good game.
I've just posted a link in the chat for you, Fred, to look it up on YouTube. So,
yeah, plus I'm seeing the just a screen grab too. Here, I'll put that in the chat as well. But woo, that's a rough game.
Yeah, 2600's not good.
I bought it on the Nintendo, and on the NES, it looked pretty darn close to the arcade, which makes sense. It would be able to, kind of copy the arcade graphics at that point pretty well. Burger Time came out in '82. It didn't hit for the NES until '86, so they had a little bit of time to perfect that craft. But yeah. So there was Burger Time. It was in all Dairy Queens in my area. I remember that, which was funny because I always wanted the Dairy Queen that would serve hot dogs and hamburgers, and I'm sure it tasted like shit. But I wanted one that offered more than just ice cream. And it must have been like an arcade distribution deal where they just put them in the Dairy Queens. But I was always like, I remember going into Dairy Queen and like, I don't have much of a sweet tooth. My sisters do. I like fried nasty foods. So I wanted jalapeno poppers or fries or a fucking burger. And instead it was, Frosties and curled tops all day long. Terrible. So. Psychoanalyze that.
Yeah.
So, anyway. All right. Well, let's keep going with it.
Yeah.
FortiGuard is just saying this is a weird and disturbing conversation. Which
Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bringing it to a whole new level here. Whoever knew.
All right, who's up?
It's Jam's
Oh,
turn.
that'll be me then. So the next game... Oh, I've just lost the list. Let me just get it up again. So have any of you guys played the 2600 game Fast Food at all?
I have not. And I was not successful at finding it the other day.
How about, How about you, Trees, being the elite gamer?
No, I mean, I had to look up pictures of it because I was getting confused with Food Fight, which I noticed is not on the list.
Oh,
It will be, though.
It will
We
be.
are going
It
to.
should have
Okay,
been,
so
sorry.
I was getting Food Fight confused with this game, Fast Food. So I had to look up Fast Food, and all I keep seeing is it looks like a pair of lips eating something, and it looks like eggplants.
What?
That's the picture I
pretty
keep
much.
seeing. There's like it looks like
yeah.
eggplants at the top of the screen, and I see it looks like a pair of lips eating an ice cream and a burger and an eggplant.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me.
So basically, all it is yeah, you're right, Trees. You're a pair of lips, and you're eating fast food, and the object of the game is to eat as much fast food and get fat, which is quite rare for a game to actually get fat, rather than, well, unless you're playing maybe GTA San Andreas. but-
Americans are awesome at this game in real life.
yeah. And that's all it is. Well, being a basic 2600 game, just eat the food, and avoid avoid the healthy pickles or something, or avoid the healthy food.
Yeah, after eating 6 purple pickles, you burp, and then the fast food joint closes. Which totally happens, so I understand.
All right, you know what?
But
Fuck this game because I've just, Fred, you know how I like more than the games itself. I just like dissecting cover art. You know that's my thing.
yeah.
So I just seen the fast food cover for this. I put it in the chat. It looks like a porn box it almost looks like a movie from the 80s box.
Oh, yeah.
What's up with that?
This could have easily been an 80s
Look
movie.
at that. Going for that hot dog. Big pair
I'm
of
more
lips.
concerned with what the purple things are.
I mean, it's even the. Oh my god.
Yeah, it looks like she's got 2 Ron Jeremy specials sliding in with a Peter North in the center, and yeah, this is quite disturbing.
I mean, it looks. They even did that. It looks like a movie poster for fucking the 80s. Even the font is like for joystick or like portraits or something. That's crazy.
Yep.
I like it. I like that. Now I like this game. I like it more than I want that. Remember what I was saying about box art being art? Look at that shit. You'd hang that on your wall. That's a poster.
In fact, I think I'm going to.
Yeah. Can I get this as like a movie poster? That's awesome.
Oh, you know, there is some place like Atari Age that'll sell you that.
That's
as a
all we have to
poster,
talk
yeah.
about this game.
Did you
Just
notice
game.
the bit in the top trees where it says game instructions and check calorie chart?
Awesome. Yeah, this is wonderful, man. I gotta look this up.
America. Yeah, no, that's So is the game any fun?
Is it
I'm dead
as
serious.
Is it as fun as that poster is depicting?
Well, that's impossible.
Definitely not as far as the poster. I mean, for a 2600 game, it's a short burst of fun. You know, just collect the food, avoid the avoid the pickles. But now I just can't get that image out of my head now after looking there. But I mean, anyone that's going to play it now probably will just play it and go, "What the fuck is this?"
So that's what those purple pickles were. Those purple things, they were the enemies. You couldn't eat those.
Yeah, you're not. Those are what you're supposed to avoid. You're not supposed to.
Well, you could put them in your mouth, but after 6, the place closed.
I'm not going to look up video of this. My computer will blow up. But so
I'll
I
post it in
noticed.
the chat.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not click. Trust me, if I click on that, everything shuts down over here. This computer's on the edge. But so explain to me what happens in the game though. Is it because there's no maze or nothing? So does shit just float towards you, or do you? What's going on? Just
Like, are you always at the same level, just going back and forth,
yeah. Or
consuming
can you
the
go
right
anywhere you
items?
want on that that screen?
Well, you can control. I believe you can go all over the screen, and the food basically scrolls towards you from the left hand side, and it's basically just that high score run. Basically, you don't have to even get the food. It's just eat as much as possible and get the highest score. And once you've eaten 6 pickles, then game's over. Or burp, as it says when it happens.
How awesome would this game be if the name of it was Dodge the Pickle?
Oh dear.
You guys ever played Dodge the Pickle? Yeah, every Friday, man.
Oh dear.
But all right, well, that's an awesome piece of Old school stuff. Do you think that was that exclusive to the 2600? It looks like it was.
Yeah, it was exclusive. Yeah.
Atari had exclusivity on that shit. No one else can have it.
I like
It's theirs.
You'll never see another game like it. It's never going to come out again.
I think I'm going to agree with you on that.
I like the 600 games that were made by weird companies because they slapped their name and copyright and date at the bottom of the screen that stayed there the whole time.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yeah, Activision was great at that.
Yeah, it just stayed at the bottom, like, boom.
Oh, you're playing the game Activision? No, it's Pitfall, but never mind.
I suddenly want to buy an Activision shirt.
There you go. They're at Target. Anyway, all right, well, moving on in a very appropriate game for tonight. Tapper. Let's talk about Tapper. Not root beer Tapper, although we can lump it in there. But before there was root beer Tapper, in 1984, there was Budweiser's Tapper.
Man.
1983, I'm sorry. Bally Midway published it. And if you've ever played Back to the Future on the NES, you know what this game is. You play a bartender serving a bunch of rowdy bar patrons. In probably one of the most horrible bar setups I've ever seen. 4 kegs sticking out of the wall.
Yeah.
And you're serving, what, a California raisin and a... Oh, no, they're guys with hats. Anyway. Looks like a California raisin and Elmer Fudd, but anyway, it's not who it is. Basically you had 4 rails and you would make beers. The cool thing was the arcade game actually had a full Budweiser beer tapper on it, which is why I've always wanted one of these arcades. Thought it'd be amazing. So, have you guys ever played this? This is kind of like the restaurant or diner dash.
It is,
they start easy and then they start getting crazy on you.
Still use this formula, but no, I never seen in person the Budweiser one. I played the...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I've never seen a working one, but...
Yeah, no, I just... Even back in the day when I guess it was out, I never seen it anywhere. I had played it later on when it was like, I think what you said, like root beer or something.
Yeah, it became root beer tapper because it turns out that people who are really drunk in bars don't want to sit around serving people beers. Who knew?
Well, you get drunk and
beers.
People start sliding the beers across the bar.
Mm-hmm.
They think they're playing the game.
And much like real bars, basically the whole point is that you've got patrons who can drink faster than you can serve.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they get so pissed off that they whip a beer at you, and there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that. Although I've never worn, and having been a bartender for almost 10 years, I've never worn a blue vest and a red bow tie, but I hear it was all the rage at some point.
Well, that's the Budweiser, man. That's the Budweiser guys. Old school.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah,
they always dress like that, right? They were always
they
like,
did, yeah.
But, hey, good on them. If you think of it, like... I mean, they basically made a promotional game for their product that turned into something that's still used as a blueprint for some games.
And it was ported all over the place. It made it to the ColecoVision, the 2600, the C64, the ZX Spectrum, the Amstrad, the BBC Micro. Remember that one, Trees? And has recently come to mobile phones.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
I mean, how many promotional made anything can you think of that's really taken off? There was Sneak King that I loved.
I was about to say Sneak
But
King. Speaking of food-based games,
what is that on the list? But that's that's more of a novel.
If you played that game in real life, your shit would get arrested.
What, hanging on someone's fucking hedges, throwing burgers at them? You can't do that. You're allowed to do that.
You can quickly turn that into a horror movie. But it was. But it was very interesting.
But I mean, that even that was funny because it was so out there. You know what I mean? But I mean, this is, they made this to promote Budweiser beer, and
it made a ton of money.
And it's not a bad game,
And if you brought
it's actually really good.
If you brought the Atari games, it promoted Mountain Dew.
Oh really?
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's even
I
better,
did not
man.
know that. That's pretty good. Trees actually cuts a check from Mountain Dew every time he mentions it on his show.
Jesus Christ!
So We hear about it all the time.
I drink so much Mountain Dew I could piss it for a year.
they were gonna give him Taco Bell, but it turns out he doesn't go to fast food places, so all they can do is give him straight Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So. But anyway, yeah, I saw that the real life Sneak King. It's terrific.
And of course, I mentioned this before we recorded that you're technically putting this on the list means you're counting beer as a food group.
Beer is a food group.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the fifth and most important. It'll do all kinds of fun stuff to you. Just don't operate heavy machinery on it. But yeah, beer's a food group if you drink the kind I do and the kind you do, apparently. And who knows what Jam drinks? Do you drink thick beers, sir?
Ooh, depends on the situation.
Are you drinking thick beer tonight?
No, I'm drinking a light beer tonight, or just light beers, I should say. Well, no, I think I'm on my third now. So.
Well, but it's European light beers. So
Oh,
Right.
okay, yeah.
what? It's like 15% alcohol by volume.
So yeah, that's only whatever the European equivalent is, and yeah, that's what I'm drinking.
Yeah, and enough hops to choke a goat. But anyway, all right. Well, we'll move on to the next game. We'll stick to the list for a minute. There are a couple that are at the end of the list, but yeah, we'll go with this next one. Trees, this is you. You're up.
Yeah.
Come on, Vanna White, introduce
Now,
the next one.
I have never heard of this game.
Oh, really? Oh.
Right?
Well, this is embarrassing.
I know what it refers to. Chase the chuck wagon.
Yeah.
I assume it means the dog food
That's right.
because
You got it.
I actually remember those creepy ass commercials, and but yeah, do you guys remember those commercials with do you remember them, Fred? You were around when those were still on.
Yeah, the Chase the Chuck Wagon
Yeah,
commercials? Absolutely.
They had the fucking creepy little stop animation guys on the fucking chuck wagon.
Well, and when you see the Purina logo, which is who distributed it, once you see that Purina logo, you cannot unsee it in society. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to this day, I see a checkerboard and I'm like, the Purina logo.
Oh my god.
Like, it's terrible, but it totally proves that merchandising and marketing worked.
Yeah, I
in
mean,
the 80s.
it always reminded me of those little like horror skits of like Tales from the Dark Side or like something like that, where like little toys would come alive and fucking kill people. And that's
Just a small happy town.
there was one.
Next thing you know.
Yeah, there was one weird show. I can't remember if it was called the Dark Room or the Red Room or something.
Tales from the Dark Side?
No, there was another weird
Oh.
show just like that called like the Red Room or
The
something.
Outer Limits?
No, it's like called
Okay.
the Red Room. It always showed like someone pulling on like turning a light bulb on like in a red room, and it was a guy who owned all these little army men, and they all came alive and fucking killed him, shot him to death.
Yeah.
And it always creeped me out because I seen it probably when I was like 6, and that's what those little chuck wagon dudes remind me of. Creepy, man. I always wished a dead dog fucking caught those guys, tore them up. Never caught them though.
Never caught him.
But the game, I don't know what the game is.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up right now. I want to see what the pitch is.
Oh, it's fantastic, man. I don't know.
Sarcasm. So.
No, well, yeah, a little bit,
This is
but
not what I.
yeah.
Not what I
Well,
expected.
Jam, why don't you take it at first because
Yep.
I'll put in my piece, but I only played this from time to time. I did not replay it for the show though.
Do you actually own it, Fred?
No, my aunt did though.
Oh, really?
We had fucking this Defender and E.T. to play at her 2600. And you know why we had this was because the way you got it was you turned in like 20 Purina dog food proofs of purchase.
Yeah.
And Spectravision would mail it to you.
That's leading on from what it's all back. This is an 83 Atari 2600 game, and a lot of people they put this in the category of this is one of those responsible for the crash and all that. But similar to ET, a lot of these games because you could only get them by getting all the vouchers on the tins of dog food of all things to do. A lot of them were destroyed, so it's not actually as many. There's not many out there actually.
Yeah, apparently it's worth a ton. Maybe I need to go see
Yeah,
Aunt Diana's
you should probably do that.
attic to see what she's still got.
So what is the game? So what it's supposed to be about is you're a dog and you're in like a little maze, and you basically just got to get through the maze and get to the chuck wagon, I guess, so to get to the wagon, while being chased by a human character and like a very bizarre bouncing around sprite. It's usually like some sort of shape or something. And it's time limited basically.
Christ, it's worth $80.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we know what Fred's going to be doing, so with the game, but
going to Aunt Diana's attic. That's right. Anyway,
Man, this looks shitty.
yeah, it was generally considered one of those in the era like where everybody released games, and why basically. But
although I gotta give it credit, and Trees, if you're looking on Wikipedia, the Purina logo looks spot on. I bet that was a major focus of the developer when Purina paid them to make the game.
Well, it's a checkerboard, man.
Yeah, but it still works.
Anybody can make a checkerboard. What do you mean it's spot on?
But these guys actually did it.
I mean, I would be surprised if they fucked it up. That would be the bigger. I mean, it's not that they did it. Anybody can do it. Oh my.
Well, still. I don't know what you want me to say. I thought it looked good. Whatever.
A checkerboard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Atari didn't do a great job at making stuff look like it's supposed
Right,
to.
but they can make...
This is one of the few things.
The one thing that Atari was good at was making blocks.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, you win. Okay. Chase the Chuck Wagon. Shit, but it has dogs in it. You know what isn't shit and doesn't have dogs in it?
But...
The next game.
Segue.
Yeah.
Smooth.
Yeah. Jam.
Oh,
it
wasn't. Blow it.
I guess we're going to be going completely we go from dog food to I guess humans as we lead into
food.
People
yeah.
food.
Soylent Green.
With Rampage, the infamous arcade game. Which was there's many ports of this came out, didn't it? There was the arcade game. There's also the world tour version on PlayStation and in 64. There's various titles of this.
Which was also an arcade game at one point.
Yeah,
but...
yeah, absolutely. So you climb buildings and eat people and soldiers and whatever you find.
You eat all kinds of shit.
I mean, there was food, right? Did you punch holes sometimes into the food in there?
There were toilets.
Yep.
You remember eating the toilet and spitting the water out, which was gross. And then you could get the chick in the shower. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This was the first time where nudity was kind of like, tongue-in-cheek. Because there were three people. There was, I forgot their names, and I can look it up in a second. But there was the lizard person, which was a girl. There was the King Kong ape person, and there was the wolf. And the wolf didn't make it into the NES port, which is what most people remember or don't remember. And when they would die, they would shrink down to their human form, and they would be naked. And remember, they would have their hands over
chop up their bits,
junk,
yeah.
and they would kind of sneak off screen.
So the gorilla's called George, the Godzilla's
George.
Lizzie, and Ralph is the werewolf.
Ralph. Yeah, a perfect name for that werewolf. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was arcade Rampage all the way. I was around when that was out.
I was NES Rampage all the way, although I did play it in the arcades.
Yeah.
And I was always George because I couldn't play him, obviously, at home.
I always felt bad for eating people. Is that weird?
Really?
Yeah, I always remembered because they would put them in their mouth and chew them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always felt real bad about that. Just seemed wrong.
Oh, and weren't there, firefighters that had, tanks on their back?
You blow out fire,
if you ate them, you'd spit out the fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you do.
That's the one thing I remember at Rampage. Man. And, yeah. And then I remember you'd eat all these people and chew them up. But then when you die, you'd shrink down to a person again. And then I'd be like, how did...
Cannibalism.
No, but I'd be like, how's that all fit in there now? They just ate fucking 10 people. And now wouldn't they just explode on the way down? A
little bit.
Yeah.
Well, and I just remember there were times where you could punch out a building and there would be a girl in the shower. and you could just like grab it and eat it.
Uh,
And I thought that was hilarious.
terrible.
I thought it was great. I also like that it goes all around America, and there were random places that it made no sense why they would be in there. Like Plano, Illinois. Who the fuck cares about Plano, Illinois? You know. But,
that was a good game. It was a mindless, stupid game. There's no point to it. But like what was the point? I don't remember what the point was. I just remember
the point is to be awesome, and it was.
It's just to destroy everything. Yeah.
That's what it is. I just remember it was fun to watch a building come.
Yeah, because the level ends when you destroy all the buildings.
Right.
And I remember that was the fun part too, because remember if you were on a building when it started coming down, you would just look at the screen like it was the player's fault, and you'd be like, "Oh."
Well, it was your douchebag second player friend that knocked it down while you were still on top.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
So,
And I can't remember.
And there was jumping.
I don't remember. Was there any competitiveness with the other two players? I don't remember. Were you ever?
I don't remember if you could beat each other up. I think in World Tour there was friendly fire, so to speak.
But
It's just a high score.
It was just a high score thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. I couldn't remember if there was like you could steal stuff from another. I don't remember it that well. But
I don't think so. I even remember trying to eat the opponent or my buddy when he would turn into a human.
Yeah.
I don't think that was possible either. That would have been great.
That'd be brilliant. Humiliation.
Could you? I don't remember. Could you punch cars? Like, could you punch down on the ground when cars drove by? Yes.
Yeah, there would be taxis and then there were tanks.
That's right.
There's also helicopters as well.
Yeah, there were helicopters you could punch, and then trees. There were food items. There were the turkeys and the apples
I
and
thought
stuff like that, like you were remembering.
That's
how
I went.
And they repaired health. This was a health game. This basically you had a health bar, and it was all about just trying to keep it as high as possible.
That's right, man. That's how I went. Turkeys and apples, man. Left those people alone. Poor people.
Man, you must have been terrible at this game.
Chewing them up.
So, apparently it spawned a lot of sequels. There's a sequel called Rampage Through Time. Give me a fucking break.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
Oh,
that.
my God. Oh, wait.
There's also a few 3D
guys gotta
versions. There's a
see
few
this.
3D games as well.
I think this is one of them.
Oh, really? So,
Yeah, here, look at this. That doesn't look like the trio I know.
no,
Big
no,
rat
yeah.
and a fucking one-eyed guy. This is something I'm going to have to look up. Boris the rhinoceros monster? Are you kidding me?
This is from Midway.
Oh, this game just got so much more interesting. Yeah, but anyway. So, there's those. Oh, and there's one called Harley, the warthog monster, who has a power called the Boar Butt Blast, and I cannot wait to see what that is.
Garbage.
Yeah, Patrice over.
Anyway.
Let's have a look.
All right. Next up, oh yeah, we got the Kool-Aid Man. This I believe was another one of these games where you had to mail away to get the Kool-Aid game. Am I correct?
I don't know actually. I didn't find that information out. As far as I know, you could buy this one, but I could be wrong. Might be a.
Oh, okay.
Well, I've got it down here as another one of the 83 ones. So 1983.
Yeah,
So-
it was a great game though. It was well, no, it wasn't a great game. It was a hilarious
What
game.
game were you playing?
Sorry, it was a hilarious game. The Kool-Aid Man, and it looked terrible. You were basically attacking thirsties, which looked like I don't know, electricity runoff, basically.
They always look like those candies to me. The gum that was like spiky. What was that shit called? I can't remember.
Spiky gum.
Yeah, if I found it, you'd be like, oh yeah, that shit. That's what reminded me of candies. It was at that time. Never mind.
All I remember was how terrible it was that they wanted to drink water, and you were stuffing them full of Kool-Aid. And yes, it turns out, Jam, it's 125 Kool-Aid packets.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You had to mail in all 125, and you would get the game.
Whoa.
It was also available in retail stores like grocery stores for $10.
Yeah, that's probably.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember this game. I don't remember this game either, but I remember the There used to be ads and stuff in like comic books and stuff for it.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the comic book looking ad, but I don't think I ever played the game.
I think I remember thinking it was shit back then, too, actually. To be completely honest with you. I don't think this ever was good. Oh, it was reviewed. All Game gave it a 3 out of 10, a 3 out of 5.
That's generous. So,
yeah.
That's generous. I wish I could remember what that candy was called. It's going to drive me nuts now. Oh, well.
I don't know. The Thirsties kind of look like the 5.0 Game Pro guy. But anyway. And they got the long green tongues. So apparently they're Kiss rejects, as far as I can tell. So, but anyway, all right. Let's keep going with it. Let's skip over the PSN one for a second.
yeah, no.
Go
I was
right
going to
into
say.
the next one.
Well, did you want to skip that and put, was it,
Fuck no, I don't want to skip it.
no, Food Fight? Because that's stage 3 as well.
Oh, Food Fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk Food Fight. Trees, you're up. Talk Food Fight.
Food Fight. Arcade game. Where
It was.
basically you had to, I gotta remember now. You know, I played it at GameStop too. It was the first time I played it in like years. And now I can't remember what the fuck you had to do. You had to avoid food, catch food. It was a free-for-all. You just ran around a screen and there was either food coming at you. I think you had to, avoid it. Does that sound right? Jesus Christ, man.
I've never played this game.
No?
Really?
I'm not going to lie. No, I'm looking at it right now. It looks fucking crazy. It looks kind of like Centipede.
Yeah, like shit just came at you. I gotta look it up real quick now so I can refresh my memory.
Cam, have you played this game?
Yeah, I have very briefly at a convention on the original arcade cabinet. But I mean, yeah, I'm actually really surprised neither of you played it. That's quite interesting. So I'm not sure if it even was released over here in the arcades in the UK. It might have been a MAME conversion or something. But yeah.
So what you're saying is we have no excuse.
But no, not at all. So, but no, it's well, basically Trees, and Fred actually, it's you can have, I believe you can be 2 players, and you both have you basically have your arms outstretched, and you have like a pie in each hand, and you basically fling the pie at the opposing player essentially.
You got to keep grabbing the ice cream cone, right?
That's right. You can keep grabbing power ups, racking up points. And avoiding the projectiles that are heading towards you as well. And that's a good picture that Spider-Son's found. So yeah,
you like that? That guy's serious though. He's got the gloves on and everything. He's not fucking around. But yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it looks fun. If I had a working MAME cab, I'd run downstairs and play it. But unfortunately,
I remember it being a very frantic game, like fast. You know what I mean? Like just moving constantly. It wasn't like a Space Invaders type shooter. You were just moving all the time to get that ice. I think you just keep grabbing that ice cream cone, and more shit would just keep popping up on the screen. And I think the ice cream cone would keep popping in different places. Like once you grabbed it, a new one would pop up, and you had to keep grabbing it for a melted or something. Does that sound right?
Sounds right.
Sounds right to me.
Dude, it's so unfortunate too. I don't know if he's a listener, but from our Arcade Outsiders, Joe wrote in and he goes, "You got to talk about Food Fight. It's fucking awesome." And we are totally shitting on it.
Yeah, we are.
Like, we are not giving it the coverage.
No,
it
we're not
deserves.
shitting on it. My memory is just like
We're not shitting
no.
on it. We don't know enough to shit on it.
Like I said, I remember it in the arcades. I remember it because I remember the cabinet for it. And then I played it at Fun Stop in New Hampshire, like for a VGO, one of the VGO meetups. I remember we played it. Yeah. And that's the last time I played it. That was a couple of years ago.
Well, I'm gonna go try to play this game, but no, I've never played this game. I'm surprised.
I was about to say, actually, I don't think I've played this game. I just looked at the footage I've just found here, and I don't know what I was talking about, but it's not the same game as the one I've seen
Well,
here.
Ragenator says it's inspired by Animal House.
That makes sense.
You had to pick up food from random piles and toss it at opponents. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. And it was an AI game. You were fighting the AI. You know what this kind of reminds me of? Did you guys ever play the Three Stooges on the NES?
I remember it. They were throwing pies, weren't they?
Yeah, there was a pie throwing game where you literally threw pies and you could control with the different buttons. I think it was down A and B, which of the three people ducked, and you had to duck at the right moment and then toss a pie with up, I think. And it was pretty interesting. So, yeah. So there's food, right? Yeah.
Right, spraying food.
Okay. Anyway, moving on.
His bear's kicking in. Let's hurry up.
Yeah. All right. We got 20 minutes, and we're going to keep going. So, next up, Jam, I think this is you.
Which one are we doing? Are we doing
We're
PSN
doing...
one, or are we doing the dominant?
No, we're doing motherfucking Kamen no Jinja Hanamaru.
Huh?
Yeah. Okay. Masked Ninja Hanamaru? Huh? Yonoid. In U.S. is what it was known as.
Oh, God. Just totally sorry. I thought I was drinking too much tonight.
All right. Well, actually, if you want me to take lead on this, I played the shit out of this game not only now, but for about 2 hours last night.
Why?
You definitely take lead here. But
I fucking love this game. I fucking love this game, and this game is terrible, and it's really difficult. Anyway, it was a game called Ninja Hanamaru, Kamen no Ninja Hanamaru, in Japan, and it was basically like a Batman-type figure that would go through and protect the world from various things. So naturally, we bastardized it in America, and we turned it into the fucking Noid. And basically, Domino's Pizza had this mascot called the Noid.
Terrible.
And, yeah, he was kind of dopey. He was kind of weird. He's kind of fucked up. And in the box art, there's a green Noid. I don't remember ever seeing a green Noid in the game. And I got pretty far in the game, actually. But basically, there's the box art there for you. But you play as the Noid. And this is a brutal, like, soul-crushing platformer. Basically, every step of the way, there is a new obstacle that's there to, like, trick you and fuck you and kill you.
Uh-huh.
And if you die, you go to the very beginning of the level. And most of your deaths would happen roughly right before the end of the level. And then each level would end with a pizza eating contest, which was really weird and a fun mechanic. And of course, there's video of this on the podcast. But where you eat pizzas based off of various things. Like the one guy says, "I can eat 4 pizzas," and you've got like a set of cards, and you can either match him, or you can go above and beyond, above or below him. And basically, the idea is you're supposed to win the match by eating X more pizzas than him before he eats X more pizzas than you. And that sounds really complicated, but it's pretty easy when you watch it played out.
What's he?
But at
What's he throwing at the enemies?
He's got a yo-yo, and he uses a yo-yo as a he sits there and plays with it dopily if you stand still.
Why is he?
And he's not like Sonic. He doesn't like tap his leg and look at you or jump out of the fucking
Did
game
he always?
and you wait 10
Is that
minutes.
a Noid? Did he always have a yo-yo?
No, it's not. The Noid never had that.
Okay.
Actually, on the box art, the Noid had the pizza crusher. That was his whole thing. Was he would go around and he would try to fuck up Domino's
Yeah,
pizza.
he would smush the cheese. He would smush the box into the cheese.
He would smush the box into the cheese, and then the pizza would be nasty. And it was part of a campaign in 1988 to combat that with delivery drivers who would stack up pizzas. So instead, they would prevent it by having the separate boxes for each one.
Much like in the 80s, Gremlins would make planes crash. Noids would fuck the pizza up.
Yes, exactly. And, well, what's funny is you get the pizza crusher as a weapon in the game, and when you use it, the whole world shakes and everyone dies, but the Noid. Which, if he had that ability...
I was looking at a picture, I'm like, what is it?
Would have been so much cooler.
I'm looking at the picture, and he's throwing out the round thing, which you say is a yo-yo, but I'm like, what is that? I was like, is that a dough ball? Like, that would have been better if it was like a pizza dough ball.
That would be amazing,
wad of cheese.
But that's not what he does.
No, it's a yo-yo.
And again, I highly recommend if you get a chance, jump into the video version of this and watch me play. I've got about 20-25 minutes of the Noid. Most of the time when I played as a kid, I could only get to like level 2 or 3. In this recent playthrough, again, I played through it probably like for 2 hours last night. Much too far for the typical person. And I got to level like 6 or 7, and that game is just flat out unfair at that point. It really is. It is just unfair. So,
Is this a Capcom game?
It is. Well, and to be clear, Kamen no Ninja Hanamaru was a Capcom game, and then Capcom USA just slapped the fucking Noid in there. The game is identical. I watched, you can watch Arino beat it in Retro Game Challenge or whatever, and he plays the original version, which is just like a kid Batman, basically. But it's a soul-crushing game. It will make you chuck a controller pretty far. It's a soul-crushing game. But anyway. That's Yo Noid.
Yo Noid, avoid the Noid.
I remember renting it and crying because it sucked so bad.
Yeah?
Like, I remember that back in the day, yeah.
They're much like their pizza.
Mm-hmm. In fact, the worst fucking Friday night of my life was eating Domino's and then going into my room with the Yo Noid game. It was just... I
used to say fucking... Instead of avoid the Noid commercials, I used to just have, like, avoid our pizza commercials.
Yeah.
Altogether.
A lot of people joked about that, actually.
Yeah.
like back in those days, like Pizza Hut even owned up to it in recent campaigns.
Domino's,
that,
yeah.
like, okay, so our pizza sucks shit, but it's $5, so we're gonna work on it.
Make it. I remember that, boys.
Yeah.
Like, there's an easy way to avoid the Noid. Just don't fucking buy it.
So.
All right.
Next.
What is next? Who's up?
It's you, True.
Jam's up.
Am I up? Okay. So,
sure.
Oh yeah, so I guess you could group the next two kind of together. They're two separate games, but Mook Kids on the NES and Global Gladiators on the Mega Drive / Genesis. McDonald's games.
I know they're rare, but I have not played them.
I've only played the Global Gladiators game on the Mega Drive. But I've seen footage of Mook Kids. Oh, that is right, isn't it? Oh, I put Mook Kinds here. Oops, I spelled it wrong. So.
Mick Kids. Am I crazy in thinking that I don't remember that being a terrible game? Was that an alright game?
I heard it was good.
Well, yeah, you could be right. So you could be right in saying that. I think it's got its fan base. It's not a terrible game by any stretch of the mean.
Sign of the times. That kid has a flat top.
I mean, I remember it being all over the place. When I was younger, but much like Bible Adventure, which is also a decent NES game, like, you didn't pick it up because of the in-your-head stigma, which proves how much we based, preconceived notions and box art on a game. And then I think that was the joke, was it got reviewed by EGM or Video Gamer or something, and it was a good game, you know? So again, I don't know. I've not gotten a chance to play it, but I remember hearing it was a good game.
Here's a creepy picture from that game.
Oh, there we go.
Let me put that in there.
Oh my God! Why is the clown forcing them into the van?
No,
They had fucking cotton candy in those games back then. That's horrible. No, little girl, don't. No. Aww.
Yeah, the opening features. Is it Ronald McDonald?
Ronald McDonald.
That is him. Yeah.
Who they got rid of? Who was still around in theory, but they got rid of him.
Fucking Hamburglar's still there, but
right,
yeah, Ronald McDonald.
They got rid of him like a couple of years ago, right? Because it's creepy to have a guy as a clown trying to lure kids in.
Yeah, and I hate clowns, but still, it's a great screenshot.
Coming in the house, I got burgers in the house. Come on in.
Come here, little boy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's try and add that.
So was the Mega Drive game like? Was that based off of McDonald's as well?
Yeah, it was a McDonald's game too. At least over here, I don't know about McPids, but a lot of these games were published by Virgin Interactive as well. But Global Gladiators what's really funny is it's one of those misleading box arts where you look at it and there's two characters on the front, and what a surprise! It's only a one-player game. So,
which was a big deal.
It was, yeah. So
it really was. You'd bring your buddy over and you're like, "What's this shit?"
It's definitely, from my childhood, I remember it being one of the most misleading covers ever. So, just looking at it. But I didn't actually...
Oh my God. I don't know what yours looked like, but I'm about to post ours. This is one of those things where I really hope this is the same thing you guys got. Is that your box art?
I'm showing it in a moment. Hold on. It doesn't look like it. Hold on. I'll get up the PAL version and... do comparisons.
Oh, it's a broken link. I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right. I'll get up the R version. Yeah, but this is more of a, unlike the NES game, it was more of a kind of a shooting 2D platformer. It was kind of fun. It's not brilliant, but yeah, I had it. It's sort of kind of like how people talk about the NES game. It was, it had its fan base really, and it's like, some people like it. It had some interesting mechanics. You could actually shoot downwards through ledges, which is kind of different.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I didn't mind this game. I didn't own it when I was younger. I found it at a car boot / flea market, as you guys would call it. For like,
oh no, your cover art was very.
You found it? Yeah, absolutely.
And as always, it was much better.
Yeah.
Is this? Well, this may be fake, but I don't know. You tell me.
I was about to put it. Hold on. I don't think that's right. Actually, still, let's just.
Okay. That would have been badass if that was.
No, that's not the whole one. No.
Okay.
I posted our one. So
okay.
it's a lot more happy. So.
Oh wow, yours is super happy. That's Jesus. You guys were on helium over there in Europe, man.
What's really
like
funny
our kids were
is
like.
You got that kind of like, I don't know, like that bogey or booger thing, and that guy's happy as well. They're all just happy being kind of murdered by living in the background.
Yeah, the booger dude's like, fuck yeah, let's mucus this up. Let's do this. That's pretty awesome, man. Like, yeah, yours looked really fun, but the one thing all of these box arts do have in common is you would consistently mistake them all for being co-op games.
Yeah. Well, maybe not.
They absolutely all look like two-player games. So.
But yeah, no, definitely. But that's my biggest memory of that game, particularly, is that why is this not two-player? And I think you only played as the black kid as well, not the. That's from what I remember anyway. So.
Well, that's fair. I can handle it. Wait, so riddle me this: did this actually happen in the game? Is that a thing? I'm not exactly sure what one's supposed to do in that scenario. But anyway, it's a fun photo of Ronald McDonald. But anyway,
looks a lot better than the NES game.
Well, yeah, cool promotion.
What was funny in that photo you just showed, Fred, as well. That's the thing that always made me laugh in the game. Is the sprite is always looking behind him, so as though he's looking for something. Yeah, crickets.
Yeah, it always looks like he's waiting for something to creep up on him. He's always on red alert. That's a very self-aware sprite.
That's funny.
But all right, well, it looks like as per usual we're running down. So you want to like speed? I guess we could speed through these. So I'm just gonna take lead, but you guys can talk about them. So the next one up is Chester Cheetah, Too Cool to Fool for the SNES, which starred none other than the Cheetos guy, Chester Cheetah. Did anyone play this one?
I didn't play this one.
I remember it. I want to say I played it. I want to say I rented it. Because I remember the title screen. I'm looking at it now. I want to say it wasn't bad. Actually, I did play this. I remember some of it. It wasn't bad. It was a pretty fun little platform.
It looks very colorful. Chester Cheetah was obviously quite a easy sprite to cartoonize and turn into a video game.
Well, also, like, Super NES and stuff. Now we're getting into the era of games where it's not like Atari 2600. They can actually visualize.
It's not abstract.
Right. It's like you get what you think you're going to get. It's not the Chuck Wagon game, So, I did play this. I remember playing this.
Jesus, look at this screenshot.
Not a terrible game.
Like, where did that come from?
I think...
No, but...
I think... Ooh, Jesus Christ. That's Skyrim. But I think in the 90s, these kind of platformers were a dime a dozen, and none of them were terrible, but they weren't great. They just hit their stride of, like, they were all sort of the same, and you could sort of plop into any mascot you wanted, and just change a few of the enemies around, and they were all
Yeah.
basically the same. So,
Although what I will give this one credit for was very bright and colorful.
Right.
And that's not exactly as rare in the SNES, in the 16-bit era, shall I say, as it is now. But it was bright and colorful for that
Yep.
era. Like, it was neon,
yeah.
for lack of a better
And this
term.
is the rad era, the 90s.
Yeah.
He's totally. I absolutely love the new cheetah, the little puppet.
Oh,
He's a fucking-
the new smooth
He's a
one?
fucking asshole to everybody. He's a total piece of shit. Yeah, he's those commercials are great. The new cheetah.
But it was kind of cool because you always got this idea of a persona of Chester Cheetah. Kind of seemed like Matthew McConaughey, I guess I would say. And this game like kind of just showed him off,
like playing bongos in the nude.
Yeah, for lack of a better term. I just realized VGO's not tonight, even though you guys have been telling me all night.
Yeah, no.
If you guys want to go long, we can keep going. There were a couple of games I actually did want to talk about,
Yeah, sure.
including this one. But so, are you game, Trees?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. Well, the next one I want to talk about, which actually seems like it would be derivative, and I really don't think it is Cool Spot, the 7-Up spot.
Good game. That was a good platformer.
This was a very good game. Like,
Yeah,
almost too good for what it
Hard
was.
game, too.
very hard. Yeah.
Fucking hard. Yeah. But this game, Cool Spot, came out on both the Genesis and the Super NES. I think I thought it... This was one of the few games where I thought it looked better on the Genesis, actually. Because the Super NES, while it technically had better graphics, made him kind of a little more cartoony. And I know this sounds goofy hearing it now, but I thought the 7-Up spot was a little edgier than that. And they made it look very... Okay, Anyway, they made it look very realistic, I guess.
On the
the
Genesis.
Yes, in the chat, here's the Genesis version versus the SNES version, and again, but either way, it was a crazy little kind of beach bum platformer, is what I would kind of refer to it as. I don't know. And again, what I remember most about it was that the game was super hard, and that it was super fun. Like, I was addicted to it, playing it in like in-store demos and stuff. But anyway, but yeah, when you compare the two, again, I still feel that the Genesis was the better version of this game. But either way.
Yeah, I remember this game. I liked this game. I remember I liked. I've only played the Genesis version, so I don't know about but I remember digging the. I don't know. I thought it was cool, like how he had his the style like was fully realized, like all the way through like the fonts and the numbers and stuff. Like everything had that cool like spot look. I don't know. That sounds dumb, but you know what I mean. Like everything was like.
No, yeah, the spot was his own brand, really. And you're right. It's consistent down to the O's in the cool,
Right, like
and the O in spot were all like the spot, version of cutouts.
Yeah, it was cool.
And if you've never seen the Cool Spot, he's the Spot from 7-Up, but he's got like sunglasses on, and then he's got a little blacked out like O, almost looks like a birthmark, and that's his feet. And then, unlike Rayman, he's got arms and hands. And then he's got, fucking Chuck Taylor's or something that he's wearing. And he was hip. Like, I gotta say, back in the 90s, early 90s, Spot was hip.
Yeah, he'd run out, do some shit, and then he would jump. He would jump back into the logo, and the can would shake. It was
well, and I think it helps that at the title screen, he jumps onto a bottle of 7-Up and rides it like as a surfboard. And that kind of consistency was perfect.
And that was.
And believe it or not, Virgin released this game as like a game. It was not a cross promotion like the Kool-Aid Man thing or something.
No, yeah,
like,
it just came out.
Yeah, like Cool Spot's good. It was a licensed game. In fact, I think somewhere deep down inside, Virgin paid 7-Up to use the Spot as their character. And it was kind of a Jack and the Beanstalk kind of thing, where the Spot was really small, and he was your protagonist. And he fought, shell crabs and fish and oppression.
Thirst.
Yeah.
He battled thirst everywhere.
He battled the enemy of thirst, yeah. But and I think the game's a little rare nowadays. I don't know. I have the game, and again, like most other things, you can assign it a value. That doesn't mean anyone's going to pay for it. Not that I would sell it, even if they would. But it was a fun game, and it did have like bonus levels and stuff inside a 7-Up container. I remember that too. But it was a very cool game. Definitely something to check out, especially if you must by a nefarious means. So, but so there's Cool Spot.
Cool.
It also had a sequel as well. Was it Cool Spot in Hollywood or something? Where is it?
Oh, there was
yeah, Cool Spot Goes to Hollywood. It was like unlike the version, the 2D version. This was like an isometric game, and it was awful. It was a terrible game. I'm sorry, I don't know. Was it? Maybe it wasn't released in America.
Wait to get it.
But,
oh yeah, no, it was.
It was, yeah.
But I didn't know this game existed.
Was
though.
I mean, the good thing is New Discovery, but this game, a slight difference to the original formula is, unlike being just a standard platformer, you could choose the levels you started with. You got a choice between 3 levels from the get-go. You had to do all of them, but you could do them in whatever order you fancied. Kind of very loosely Mega Man style, but it was very much a collecting game. Where is that isometric view where you still had the kind of the shoot function and the jump as well, but you had to go around just collecting things, and they repeated the same enemies in the same levels, and it just wasn't as good as the first version, which is probably why a lot of people don't remember this one. But it did exist, and it was awful.
Yeah, it looks like there was a pirate. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, what I really remember about Spot, and like this picture I'm putting in chat, but I'll tell those listening exactly what I mean by this, is like shit like that. Like, that is a total 90s screenshot. Like him sitting on a Walkman, just chilling. You'll never see that ever again. There's nothing more 90s than that. Or more late 80s, man. You know what I mean? That's John Cusack right there, just hanging out.
That shit has a prominent FM antenna sticking out of it.
Yes, it does. And Ragenator's talking in the chat where he said he always found in terms of graphics games, or in terms of Genesis games, they had the graphical edge, but the SNES sound chip always had the music edge. I will agree with him on the sound chip. I didn't usually think Genesis games looked better, but and that's from a Genesis fan.
It depended on what they were doing. I think SNES did the cartoony look better. But when it came to kind of gritty, realistic kind of stuff, I always thought the Genesis did a better job at that.
So you heard it confirmed right here. Spot, gritty, realistic game.
Yeah. Like you said, they were going for that realistic sort of...
that's true.
You're like on a sandbar. Metallic look, and then the bottles and stuff, they were trying to make look realistic and stuff,
That's a good point. Yeah. All right, well, moving on. Let's talk about Chex Quest, the ultimate Doom clone.
Chex Quest.
Oh, this got such a fan following, this game. So,
did you guys ever play Chex Quest? Because I know I did. Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, yeah. First of all, my mom bought all this fucking Chex, and we had no reason to own it. Okay, so if you don't know, Chex is a breakfast cereal. Rivaled largely by Crispix, the better of the two.
Chex.
And basically,
Chex is mostly known by drunk people that have a hangover that eats Chex Mix. Because
I never thought
Chex Mix is always laying around somewhere when you're drunk and you eat it. I've never eaten Chex as fucking cereal. I've always just had. Always just had it in bowls with pretzels and Dorito bits in it.
Well, and let me tell you, it sucks as cereal on its own.
Yeah.
But it was in. It came in a couple different forms. You could either get it with your America Online disc. Remember when those came in the mail? It was a hybrid disc. You could install America Online and Chex Quest, and you could also get it boxed into Chex boxes in '96. And believe it or not, this game was an id Tech 1 game. It did run Doom.
It looks like Doom. I'm looking at it.
It was running the Doom platform. It kind of looks a little more Wolfenstein to me. But it was running id Tech 1, which was basically the original Doom engine.
It's ridiculous, man.
And the game would be a high-quality program with a retail value between $30 and $35. However, it was free and no increased cost to the cereal box. It had a total circulation of 42 million units. Anyway, the interesting thing about this was it was developed by a developer called Digital Cafe. They were given $500,000 to anthropomorphize a Chex character and make the Phlegmoid invasion. Because for some reason, Chex's biggest nemesis was phlegm. Yeah, makes sense.
I just put some concept arts in the
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. But you basically played a big badass Chex with no mouth, and you would get 5 levels on X number of worlds, and it was again, from what I understand, it was a very good Doom clone that was G rated, so you could give it to.
What did you I'm trying to look at what he has for a gun. What'd you shoot at these phlegm people? Did you shoot Check stuff?
It's a gun of some kind that he used. Oh, no, maybe it was your controller. I don't remember what he shot at them. I want to say it was a laser beam, though.
That's what I thought, lasers. So.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I was right. Shit, for the first time
Oh,
ever.
I'm not saying I'm right.
Let's see. Yeah, it looks like a phaser pistol.
Phlegmoids. Oh, look, I found more concept art of the laser gun. Put that in the chat.
This was also most notable because it was the original. It was the original WAD mod, kind of where they just changed the Doom.wad into something else and made a game. It also had a bunch of sequels. Chex Quest 2 came out, so did Chex Quest 3, and apparently their Chex Quest 3 was fan-made.
I was about to say, it does have a massive following in terms of fans.
It does, and it's all free. This is one of those freely distributed games that even the developer and publisher don't give a fuck if you distribute it.
It's free advertising for Chex, man.
Yeah, and I guess they're still around, so why not? But yeah, it's set on the distant planet of Bezoik.
Bezoik.
Stars the Chex Warrior.
Chex Warrior, man.
A humanoid in an anthropomorphic piece of Chex.
Is it edible? Can you
Sure.
munch on his suit?
Oh, his weapon is the
There
Zorcher.
you go.
Oh, it teleports the enemies instead of killing them. I do remember this. You zapped them away. You made them disappear instead of killing them. I do remember that now. This game was so good. And
the chainsaw from Doom was swapped to the spork from in this game.
Yes, I do remember that too. You would kind of shove them back. Yeah, you'd stab them and shove them back. It was pretty good. But anyway. So yeah, anything else on Chex Quest, guys?
I think you covered it, man. I wasn't a PC guy, so I never knew Chex Quest existed until just now.
Oh, yeah.
Just right now when you guys told me.
Really?
Yeah, I never heard of it. Had to look it up.
Oh man, the professor should have hooked you up with that, man. He, by his name alone, he should have
Should've
showed that
let me
off
know
to
about
you,
that.
but,
Chex Quest.
But well, last but not least, well, no, I don't know if I can say last unless you guys have another ace up the sleeve. But I wanted to talk about Pepsi.
Yeah,
Man.
I was gonna say that, man.
So who has played Pepsi Man?
Not me.
Well, I'm guessing it was easier to find because it was in Europe only.
I was gonna say I played it.
Yeah. And now, is that readily available in Europe?
It's
a PlayStation 1 game.
No, it's really hard to find around here. Actually, I have seen a physical copy. That's a complete lie, but I haven't seen it around cheap ever. But it's usually been with free.
So it is rare.
Well, I wouldn't say it's rare, but it seems that it's coming across as rare though for some reason. It's not a very liked game over here, I'll tell you that. A lot of people put it on their kind of hate list. I think the game's hilarious.
So it's viewed as shit. Okay.
Well, but I think.
Well,
yeah,
so,
you're going to go through with it though, but talk about it. But I think it's just hilarious, especially the theme song, if that makes it to the podcast.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to try to have that as our closing song.
Yeah.
So if I can pull that up, I will definitely use it. But basically, Pepsi Man is the ultimate dude, bro. Before there were visors, before you could get tribal armbands, and before. Being awesome was like ironically funny. There was Pepsi Man, who had my favorite line for his advertising, which was "Drink. I know where you live, punk, and your wife giggles." Like seriously, like I think this has got to be the there it is in the chat. I think that's got to be the cover art for the game or for the podcast. On the MP3. But Pepsi Man was a douchebag, and he also happened to skateboard. And this was just a crazy game. I don't even remember what you do in it. I don't know if I ever figured it out.
It's just
Did Pepsi Man have a theme other than collecting Pepsi?
Well, it's just kind of like an endless runner game, wasn't it? It's just,
Is that what it was? Okay, yeah. He just moved forward, and you dodged obstacles in San Francisco.
I never played it, but I knew what it was when you said it. Like I have a vision of him running down a street. Just was he in? Did he ever make a cameo in a fighting game? Am I crazy for thinking that?
God, I wish he did.
He did, didn't he? Didn't they some Japanese fighting game slap Pepsi Man in there?
Hold
on. Look it up because I'm not crazy, man. I could have sworn Pepsi Man made a cameo.
I just love the picture of him going, "Drink." He really is the shots guy.
I'll have to.
Fighting Vipers. He was a fucking unlockable character in Fighting Vipers for the Saturn. Right. Yeah, you are.
That's right. I remember him from that too.
Oh my god, and he was so douchey in that too. This is like a terrible Spider-Man. Is basically what he is. Oh my god, I'm going to have to whip out my copy of Fighting Vipers and figure out how to unlock him. I have a Game Genie, though, so I could probably... Or a Game Shark, so I could probably do it quick. But there he is in Fighting Vipers.
He's awesome looking, man.
Dude, Pepsi Man is great. He was Seth from Street Fighter before Seth existed. And he was all thumbs up. And this is one of those games that I think... Gaijin Games or Monkey Paw was really looking to bring over here. Like they really wanted to release it on PSN or something, and they really should, because Pepsi Man is a great, terrible game. And I don't recall even what the game was about other than you were running down streets and trying to hit checkpoints. And maybe that's all it was.
Check this picture out of him I found. Here's it.
Oh, here we go.
He has a chain on. It's like a silver chain. For no reason. I think that... Oh, he does have a chain. He has it in that picture, too, the fighting game. Huh. Why? He's all silver. Why does he have a silver chain on?
Well, he's in that that fighting game Mugen, which is that fan-made thing. So...
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's in that.
I like Pepsi Man. I'm standing behind Pepsi Man.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pepsi Man for the win. So everybody drop $200 and buy your copy of Pepsi Man, and then figure out how to make a PAL game work in America. And there you go.
Get Coca-Cola Man. You can have him square off. Be good.
I thought that.
Trees, if I ever find this available for sale, I'm
Well,
going to buy it.
yeah, Pepsi Man.
Hecht is falling in love with Pepsi Man. Check that out. Dude, he's trolling the wolf man. This is why you gotta be in the live chat. Anyway. So yeah, Pepsi Man's
Let's
a
name
thing.
my Pepsi Man.
A real thing. And you can unlock him in Fighting Vipers, which is for the Saturn. Not too rare. Or you can grab it. I think it's on Xbox 360, isn't it?
Fighting Vipers. Yeah,
Yeah.
That is, but I don't know if Pepsi Man's in the version as
Yeah,
well.
I think.
Yeah, they may
Yes,
have
I
different licenses that,
I think
so I don't know if the Pepsi Man stage
Yeah, I
made
think
it.
I remember hearing that he was stripped out of that stuff. It's too.
Yeah, well, Daytona Car is still in Fighters Mega Mix, so just remember that. But anyway, I don't know. Can you guys think of any other? Oh wait, you had one, Jam. We may as well talk about it.
What's that?
Fat
Oh,
Princess.
yeah, I forgot about that one. That's just all the way back there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's in the
Now
back.
why didn't you want to talk about that one?
Oh no, we didn't want to. It's,
Oh, I just skipped over it because
It is newer, yeah. You shove food in her face. Cake.
Yeah, you do.
is this one you played, Trees? Have you played it?
I did play a little bit of it when it was in beta form. I played a lot of it, but I
got addicted.
I
to
had
that
my
game.
fill of it by the time it came out as a full retail thing, But yeah, I did play it. It was fun.
I don't think.
How about you, Jam?
Well, yeah, well, I've played. I've only played. I didn't actually know there was a physical version of it. I've only ever played the online version or the PSN version of it.
Right.
I know. Yeah, there's a PSP version as well.
There is, but it's really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it, man. They it was weird. Didn't they include Fat Princess in the Fighting All Stars game too?
Whoa, yeah. I don't know. Is she a playable character? I don't have that game.
Yeah, she is.
So, but I know she's in it. Yeah, she's in it. Yeah, okay, there you go.
See that? But yeah, that's
Kinda-
that game's all about food, man.
Well, it's about feeding somebody.
Yeah, man, shoving cake in her face until the other people can't pick her up.
It made
all
press.
about-
I don't know if it made press over in America, but it made the newspapers over here for some articles about exploiting women apparently, or basically fattening people up and stuff. So because that's what I don't think we actually mentioned that to people that
We
haven't
have
played
no personal responsibility here.
it. I don't think we mentioned that to people that haven't played the game. Yeah, the object is you to obviously steal the princess and take it to to the other castle. But to avoid that, you can fatten her up, make her heavy, and make her harder to carry, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that made some press because people were saying, "Oh, that's horrific," worse than Call of Duty. Well, not really. It's
Not if you like big women. But I don't know. Yeah, but Fat Princess definitely was, because every time I got done with that, I was like, I want some
Yeah.
cake. Which also we should point out, and I guess we'll do it as a gag at the end. So, any other games you guys can think about?
No, I mean, besides games where you eat food for health, like I always think of.
We'll talk about
I mean,
that for
I
a
always
sec.
think of Gauntlet, just because they always say it. Wizard needs food.
Wizard
Yeah, I
needs
mean,
food.
I remember that. I remember that was one of the first games I can remember where you would have to eat crap, like for health food as a kid.
And then there was Final Fight and eventually Streets of Rage, where
yeah.
you punch garbage cans and eat whole turkeys. Who knew that the ghetto was throwing
Yep.
those out? But turns out they were.
Yep. I mean, I'm sure during the '80s that was a big thing. That the health, health.
What, to throw live
No,
turkeys
health.
out of
Health
garbage
stuff was
cans?
always food that you would pick up.
Yeah.
That was sort of like what you did. And like I said, Gauntlet was just like, I don't know why that's ingrained in my head, but maybe just because they say it all the time as you're playing it.
Well, and I gotta give credit to what is it, River City Rampage, or was it River City Ransom? Anyway, the Kunio-kun games. they always valued like what kind of food you ate. Like a candy bar didn't do you as well as an apple or sushi or something like that. And so that's kind of cool and kind of interesting from that perspective. And then obviously, you know, that gets stretched all the way through to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, where your ass can get fat. You know, you got to work out, stuff like that. But.
I remember because of Gauntlet, I watched a kid flip over a kung fu machine. You don't see that every day.
Now this I gotta hear, and exactly what happened there.
Because we were at a roller skating rink, and there was a gauntlet there, and if you remember, gauntlet was 4 players, so you could all sit there. And Jam, this was at a time where you could smoke around little kids, so there was this big friend of my older brother's.
Actually, he lives in Europe.
You can
still smoke around.
Can you smoke when you're 8 years old?
You can still do that.
Oh, you son of a gun. It's so awesome. There's something about, for an arcade, you need like a cloud of smoke to make it official.
Cigarette smoke.
Yeah, you it just does.
Do.
That and the sound of like bowling pins being knocked down in the background. There's something about that makes it perfect.
All arcades have one thing in common, which is that they all look like strip clubs on the inside. Really dark strobe lights. Yeah.
Sticky floors. So, not that I would know. But
I would.
But I remember we were all playing Gauntlet, and I think I was standing up on a bar because I was little when I was playing it. And but my brother's friend was this big kid. I think he later went to prison. I think he's still in prison. But back then he was like this big Puerto Rican kid. He was on the end playing, and someone was playing kung fu next to him, and the kid kept bumping him. Like the kid constantly kept bumping him, and he was like getting more and more pissed. So finally he just like stopped, and he turned. He went to push the kung fu machine, like move it, and it just tipped over. It like tipped over against a wall and went off. And the little kid was horrified. And this guy was such a badass.
Because you know that Wells Gardner just shattered.
If I did that, or if one of us did that, we'd be like, oh shit, this guy, he just stared the kid down, turned around, kept playing Gauntlet. No one ever said shit to him. You know? I always remember that, though. I was just like, I was so impressed that as a young kid, I was like, holy shit. This kid just tipped over an arcade machine and no one said boo to him.
Damn.
You know? Gauntlet. Wizard needs food, man. I remember that.
People are asking about VGO. Sorry, guys. There's no VGO. That wasn't my call, but we're bleeding into them. So we're that shitty retro show that's right before them. Sorry, guys. Anyway, all right. Well, then I think we should wrap it up with probably one of the most pivotal food references of this generation, or the generation that just passed. And we can end it with one simple phrase: the cake is a lie. And with that, yeah, I know Pimp Juice. It is shitty that they're not on. But remember, they opted to not be on, whereas we are here every week, so you can tolerate us every week. Anyway, all right. So, Trees, where can we find you on a regular basis?
You can find me at Easy Mode Unlocked. It's Easy Mode Unlocked every Monday night at 7 for the most part. And come over to the website, easymodeunlocked.com, and join our forums. You can find you over there most days. Both of yous over there most days. You know? And, yeah, good times, man.
Also, if you need advice about home improvement, it takes about 20 minutes before they break into that. So, what not to do to your gutters in a snowstorm? They can tell you. They can tell you it's all there. But you gotta listen.
Kids.
That's the only
We're there for
requirement.
that too. Baby talk, dog talk. Once in a while we talk games. We get to games eventually.
That's right.
It's about entertainment, Fred. It's all about entertainment. Entertainment
right.
first, and games.
That's the key. You
Yeah,
gotta stand out.
that's true.
But and Jam, the Jam Star. Where can we find you on a regular
as well
basis?
as being on the Easy Mode forums as well. The best place to find me is on Twitter, the Jamster at Jamalaeus. I can tell you what I'm doing. well, if I've written an article where it'll go, it'll all be linked there, and head over to that way.
Which, by the way, I wanted to point out that I've been getting a lot of feedback lately on the Guardian Heroes. That's got a residual effect. So for those of you who are going to hear this after the fact, if you listen to the Guardian Heroes Game Club later on, thanks a bunch for the comments. Like, it's really good to know that this has that lasting appeal. As much as I like to get the hits, kind of front heavy, which makes no sense because we have no advertisers or anyone who cares. It's definitely very cool to hear people who are listening to shows from way back when. Recently, one of our regular listeners, Finian, didn't know we did a Zelda episode, and me and Sodoom had covered the entire Zelda spectrum, and it was like Christmas to him when he found out that it existed already. So. There's nothing better than finding. So if you want to check it out, you can go to gaminghistory101.com and click on the contact link in the right toolbar, or you can just hit me up on Twitter at SpidersVenom, SPYDERSVENOM, and sometimes, not often, but sometimes, you ask about a show we've already done, and then it's like Christmas because you have access to it, because we're getting near 80 shows now, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
So I know, it's getting crazy. So anyway, so without further ado, I'm going to let you guys go, but we're at gaminghistory101.com. This podcast, as well as various other gameplay videos I've done, appears every week on YouTube as well, with gameplay footage at youtube.com/VGPTGS. They usually go live around Friday. Bear with me. I have to do about 2.5 hours of video capture, which is a lot of time and a lot of effort, and then I have to edit it. So I'm sorry it takes a little while to process. But without further ado, if there's a game you want to see, definitely hit us up and let us know. Otherwise, we'll continue with the topics. Next week is the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Game Club. So if you haven't already, if you're a hardcore gamer, you can get through it this week. Get Buffy the Vampire Slayer on the Xbox. It was solely on the Xbox, but it is backwards compatible with the 360. And from that point forward, we'll move on. So until next week, I'm going to say thank you, Trees. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jam.
No problem.
Thank you, TC. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, All Games. Thank you, Chatters. And peace out.
Sweet.
Gaming History 101.
All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Gaming History 101, the Retro Video Games Podcast. I am one of your hosts. My name is Fred Rojas, and I am joined today by two extra special guests. We never get these guys in the studio, and I am so pleased to have them. From his off-Broadway premiere, we have none other than Jam the Jamster. How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm good, Fred. Thanks for having me on again.
Excellent.
I mean, it's my first time, whatever.
Well, you're breaking the GH101 bank, but I guess we'll make it through. And the highest paid employee to ever appear on this show, coming back from his pole dancing tour, is none other than Trees. What's going on, Mr. Rob?
All your checks bounced.
Yes, they did.
None of them good. None of your ad money's coming in, apparently.
Yes, our ad money. All that ad money.
Mm-hmm.
But how you guys doing, man?
Good.
Good.
How
We're
you
partying
doing?
like it's Tuesday. I'm doing okay. We got we didn't get anywhere near as much snow as the East Coast did. However, it was 60 degrees today, so it all melted. So everyone's basement flooded, but mine. So I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you know what that's like too, Trees.
Oh yeah, I used to. That headache's gone.
In fact, if you guys want to know a whole lot about home repair, I have learned many things in my tenure listening to your show, Easy Mode Unlocked.
Yeah, we should scrap the whole video game thing and just go with home improvement.
You really should. I've learned all kinds of stuff, including that apparently my attic has plenty of insulation.
Oh man.
Or my basement.
Ugh.
I meant my attic. I'm aware of what parts there are.
Mm-hmm.
Fordengard wants to know why his check bounced. Well,
Wow.
I think you should follow the pattern, buddy. Here, I'll send you an Xbox code, but if it doesn't work, don't blame me. Call Microsoft. Anyway, well, welcome. We're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff today. We've got some news articles. We have a very special reboot that's hitting that's near and dear to my heart. And I wrote a retrospective, which we're going to talk about, because it's the scariest retrospective in the world. Because if you don't know what I'm talking about Strider. Those fans, and I'm sure both of you can attest to this, will fucking take your head off if you disrespect that game in the wrong way. So,
Really?
yeah, the Strider fans are a devout group. They're not blind though. They're not like Sonic fans.
Right.
They will accept your criticisms as long as they're well thought out and articulated. But anyway, we'll be talking about that, and then we decided, why not? Let's do a show about. This is actually, I'll tell you where this comes from, but we're doing a show about games that feature food. Whether that food be the pivotal part of the game, or as Trees pointed out, there are certain games where eating food is. Oh, you want PSN codes? Okay, those won't work either, but I will definitely send them. Anyway, where food becomes the pivotal part in various facets. And right now in your heads, I'm sure every one of you listeners has one game or genre that integrates food that you can immediately see, because it was the easiest form back in the 80s, and then moving forward, of representing health and vitality and moving forward, In fact, Zelda, the first game to feature no food, or inedible food. You got the meat log, but you couldn't eat it. But anyway, speaking of meat logs, and the reason I thought of this was because I was listening to my daughter watches My Little Ponies.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's how you do it. So, Jam, what does England have to compete with that?
I was going to say, I don't know. Adore pub food, which is sometimes
We just sit you in a chair and inject you with straight fat.
pretty much. I mean, fish and chips are big down here. Well, at least in the area I'm in. But
Oh,
that's not a representation of the entire country, though. It's because I live fairly close to the coast, so you get a lot of that sort of stuff around here. But if you go to the wrong one around the corner, you're going to get a ton of grease in it. But it's not.
But isn't that like beer battered fish with like? I mean, do you guys do fries, or is it like more like when I went to an Irish pub, and I do very much realize that Ireland and England are two very different countries, but there were vinegar chips, like homemade chips, like actual like slice up the things in chips, and I really dug that. But once you put vinegar in there, you're kind of getting it a little healthy,
Yeah. No, the chips, we do have fries, but I think only the fast food places do that, which, funnily enough, the American places do that, like McDonald's and Burger King. But generally speaking, most places they do. There's chips, but without the vinegar stuff in it. It's just they're chunky chips. Essentially, they're probably just as healthy for you, actually, to be honest. But they're all fried, it's like deep fat fried or whatever you call them in most places I go to. But, but
who knows how to fucking party though, when it comes to bad food, was my wife and I went to Maui on our honeymoon.
Yeah.
And this is something she promised I'd never admit to, so here we go. We were too full to fuck one night. Like, it was that bad. We went to this place that had garlic fries, and we just ordered them, whatever, and this big Samoan bitch was like, do you know what garlic fries are here? Because you guys have ordered sandwiches on top of it. And we were like, no. And she goes, we make fries, we fry them in peanut oil, then we take them out and we dip them, soak them, in fact, for 3 minutes in garlic butter.
Ugh.
And then we pull them out and coat them with feta cheese.
Jesus Christ, man.
And we were like, yes. And I guess that's an appetizer in Hawaii.
Oh, God.
So
what's that show? What's that show? I used to watch it on BBC America. So I don't know but it was like a skinny lady, and it was like a show where she'd help people lose weight, and she'd always like fat shame these people, like she'd berate them, and then she'd take a stool sample. That's how you know it's on American TV.
God.
And then she'd tell them why they're so fat because what they're eating, and then she'd put all the food on the table that they'd eat in a week. They'd be like, this is what you eat in a week. Just be like, like Thanksgiving dinner. And she'd just fat shame them. It was great.
I'm not sure that one. There's a show similar. It might be the same one. There's a show called Super Size versus Super Skinny that basically they do that whole show them what they're eating and they put it in like a big cement mixer and stuff. And it's the grossest thing you see. But that's, I don't think that's what you're talking about because that wouldn't be on BBC America. It sounds familiar though.
it's called Top Gear.
No. The lady's great. She's so mean. And I'm like, you never get away with this over here. You got to be nice to everybody over here, but unless you offend somebody. But she was just calling people fat. Look at you. Take your clothes off. Just put them in their underwear. Look at that.
Yeah, just public humiliation.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, wow. What are we talking about here, Fred? What's going on?
Yeah, what is the show about?
Food. But real quick, so Trees grabbed fast food, and he bought an entire cow in burger form. And I don't know, anything else go on with you guys this week that's worth talking about?
No.
Okay, well, I got one thing. I got the Guy game.
Oh, dear.
I don't know if you guys saw me tweeting about this. Trees, you know the Guy game?
Yeah, I saw it.
No. What's this?
Okay, the Guy game was an Xbox and PlayStation 2 game that came out.
Ooh.
And it had chicks in it getting naked at spring break.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's all it was, right? You'd answer dumb questions, right?
Yeah, and they'd take their shirts off. And there would be, the mosaic, like you're watching a hentai porn or something. And then eventually they, or at least I've heard. And then eventually, full-blown boobs. And there was a rumor that one of the girls was 17. And then she turned out to actually be 17, and they pulled it from the market.
And you got a copy?
Yes, this fucking game has become a little bit of a rarity. But it's one of those things, I hate to lump it with this one because Derek's going to kick my ass, but and James, sorry, not James, Yuri's going to fucking kill me over buying this because he kept trying to talk me out of it the whole time. Well, I didn't buy it, so there's at least that. But anyway, it's one of those things where it's rare, but and it might fetch a high price. This place wanted $25 for it, or $30 or something, and online I've seen it as high as like 70 or 80. But no one's really buying it. It's like the Atari Lynx is what I was going to say that Derek's probably going to kill me over, because the Lynx has a really high price, but no one wants it, so it just kind of sits there with a high price tag. And so I was looking at it and I was like, do I want it? Do I not? Do I want it? Do I not? And then the guy at the retro store, and it's kind of a local place. It's a mom and pop store. He's looking and he's like, you're looking at that Guy game a lot. There's boobs in it, I promise. And I was like, no, it's not like that. I was like, I do this site, and it's one of those things where I know I can make fun of it. And so I'm wondering if I want to cover it because it's something that people can't really find. And he goes, it's a shit game. And I was like, I know. And he goes, well, what's your site? And he looks it up, and I'm buying some other stuff. I actually did buy some other stuff at the time. I bought a SNES copy of Doom because I'm going to do a bunch of comparison videos of all the versions of Doom that are on home consoles, because I think I officially have them all now. And I bought a couple other things. I bought Burger Time for this show, and I bought a couple other games, and my total was like $70 or something. And he was like, you know what? Tell you what, because you're buying this, if you promise to cover it on the site, I'll throw this shitty game in there. He goes, but you got to be snarky. I was like, okay, but I'm not going to do any video because apparently there's a 17-year-old girl in it. And he goes, okay. And so I got it for free. So I now have the Guy game. I haven't started playing it yet, but apparently there are 20 quote-unquote babes that I can get to dehumanize themselves on a video game. In what has easily got to be the best way to stereotype every gamer known to man, and bring us down just a couple more notches.
So is this replacing the Buffy game club?
Yes. No. No. But I will be playing it tonight, so we'll see how that article turns out tomorrow, hopefully. But it will be written, boys and girls. Maybe I can do some screen grabs once I confirm it's not the 17-year-old. I don't even know if people care, and there's not going to be any nudity, but, you know. But, no. The Buffy Game Club's still on. By the way, Jam, how's that coming along for you? It's next week, Trees.
Was it next week? Oh, no, I'm almost at the end, actually. I'm not too far. I don't know where you're up to, Fred. But
I'm in the demon world.
The demon world. I've just done I finished the doc. I've gone back to the school basically, and I've defeated the other guy.
Yep.
That doc level, I just hated it. I think I was just playing it at the wrong time.
No, the docs are terrible. We'll talk about it next week, but the docs are terrible. Anytime you play them. That one and what's the other one? The train yard. You're just going to have to just power through them.
all I'll say is most regular train ever.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. They don't run like that in my town. But anyway. But yeah, we're playing through that. Tree's surprisingly good game if you've never played it. And if you're a super fucking dork and you're like me, I'm literally rewatching season 3 of Buffy right now because it fits somewhere in that timeline.
That's I never watched the series, but that's the Xbox game, right?
Yes.
Original Xbox?
Not Chaos Bleeds the sequel that was all over the place. Just the
original
solo
one.
Xbox one, yeah.
Yeah, because I did play that. I played some of it. I remember bits and pieces. Could you kick people into the trains?
You could, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I
that's a big part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay because they're vampires.
It's not a bad game. That's a pretty good game.
No, it's a really good game, but it starts off really hard. It's front heavy on the difficulty, and then it comes back again. Jam, when you get to the demon world, we'll talk next week.
Yeah.
But, and I've been capturing my entire playthrough, so I got to piece it together. But there is an amazing version of David Boreanaz that I have to make sure makes the video. Which, by the way, Trees, I do gameplay video over the podcast and post them on YouTube now. So,
nice.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Right now, people are probably looking at gameplay of Strider, the arcade game, while this is going on. But anyway. Well, cool. Well, then I guess we'll jump into news before jumping into food shit. So, let's see here. So Jam has been kind enough to collaborate a little list here for us. We did not give you this list, Trees. We didn't trust you with the news stories.
No? Oh, man. I like news.
Well, I guess we'll just go back and forth then, Jam.
Sure.
Do you want to go first? Yeah, you want to go first.
So I start from the top of the list or just random?
Yeah, absolutely. Or whatever you want to do. Fuck it. I can improvise.
Yeah, well, that's what we'll do. So there's a small news story that I've read into a little bit, but I haven't found. My computer just wasn't uploading the documents about it. Basically, some unreleased documents are released about the Super Nintendo CD-ROM drive, and they've come online. And there's some vague rumor that some people are looking into maybe reproducing a console that would work, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I linked the article to you, Fred. But I tried to get the documents up myself before the show happened, but I couldn't. So I couldn't actually see.
Oh, I do have the documents. I've read them.
You do? Yeah, that's
yeah.
Good. I'm glad you managed to see. I just couldn't get them up. So,
no, yeah, it depends on your source. I don't know if the source you gave me was as strong. But I saw it when it first leaked. So I'll let you talk about one part, and then I'll wrap up what it actually does. So.
Well, basically, this is the infamous project that Nintendo was working on with Sony before the PlayStation occurred, and it was the successor to the Super Nintendo. But obviously, well, I think you've talked about this before, haven't you, Fred? This whole thing fell through, and obviously, Sony decided to just say fuck it to Nintendo and make the PlayStation instead, and was ridiculously successful with that instead. Basically, and the SNES CD was never came to fruition, really.
Yeah, they decided to partner with Philips to do all their CD-ROM games, and there's Mario Wacky Worlds. That's a thing, which isn't a release thing, and we can definitely thank them for the lovely Zelda games. If you guys have never watched YouTube videos of this shit, absolutely. I have a Philips CDI, and I have never sought these games out because. I will not I'll do stupid shit like play the guy game when somebody gives it to me for free, but I'm not putting my dick in a blender. I'm not paying $200 for a game I know sucks. It's just not, it's against my religion.
Oh.
And that silenced the room. Okay. So in these documents, it kind of gives it was NOA, Nintendo of America's, just kind of basic configuration as to how the console would work. It's not unlike that of the Sega CD, to be honest with you. Which it should be noted at the time of this, Sega CD wasn't a thing yet. It was rumored, but they didn't have anything, ready for it. It follows the traditional dimensions, 242 millimeter by 200 millimeter by 74 millimeter. That is the exact dimensions of the Super Famicom, as well as the Satellaview or the BS, the Bandai Satellaview, I think, system. And Weird Al was recently on My Little Ponies, and it wasn't like, a representation of Weird Al. He was fucking on it and did songs on it.
Nice. You don't watch it?
What?
Are you trying to act like you don't enjoy it when you sit there and watch it?
No, I admitted it in your forums. There's a
Yeah.
My Little Pony forum, and I know you've been on there, so I know you've read it.
I post lots of there's a Easy Mode Unlocked forums. There's a My Little Pony thread that has to be like 10 pages long now.
It's hilarious too because it's made up of mostly women who watch the show because it's awesome, and men who watch the show seemingly because of their daughters. Mm-hmm. And then there's a brony documentary mixed in there somewhere.
It's pretty good.
But when he was on, I said, Julie, you know the secret to Weird Al's success is, right? And she goes, oh, because he parodies real songs. And I was like, no, because he always sings about food. That was why Weird Al was the shit. That was why everyone listened to him, because he always sung about food. And then that spiraled into, what about a show about food? And so there you go. And thus it was born.
I got in the spirit today because I before we started recording, I was telling you guys I was running late, so I didn't eat anything. So I dipped in to get fast food,
right?
Which I never do. I don't eat fast food. I eat junk food.
I was going to say, knowing what you eat while gaming, I'm very surprised to hear that.
I eat a lot of frozen pizza, a lot of cereal, but I don't stop at like Burger Kings and Wendy's and stuff. And I stopped at a Wendy's, man, because I was hungry. I said, I haven't had Wendy's in like 5 years. I did not know. I fucked up because I did not know the names for the burgers. Right?
Okay, yes.
So I went to the drive-thru and I said, give me 2 singles with cheese, ketchup only, and a small fry and a drink. And the shit came to like $15.
Yes.
And I was like, what the fuck? And I pulled around. And she hands me these gigantic burgers.
Yeah, they're quarter pounders.
I did not know this. I was like, she's like $15. I was like, what the? I said I want to eat them, not send them to college. I want to eat this fucking food.
Trees, not that you're going to go back anytime soon, but there is a burger that I particularly love at Wendy's. And actually, when I'm like needing a snack, I like to get burgers because fries are super unhealthy. I can lie to myself and say at least there's a lot of meat in burgers, and I'm on a predominantly like large protein, large fruit and veggie diet
right.
as a lifestyle choice. And so there's a Chipotle burger. It's a buck. Yeah, it's a buck, and it's just cheese, Chipotle sauce, and jalapenos, and that's all a man needs.
Jam, do you have Wendy's over in the UK?
No, we don't have Wendy's. We've got the typical stuff like Mackie D's, Burger King. We've got a Wimpy. That's not Wendy's at all. It's something completely different.
It's a W. Well, at Wendy's, they sell a burger there called the Baconator.
Yeah.
So
no more American burger has ever graced this planet.
Yeah, I don't know why America's fat.
Double cheeseburger and 6 strips of bacon.
Yeah. I can't figure it out why we're obese.
We've also got a burger that actually this is staying ironically thematic. We've also got a burger at Hardee's or Carl's Jr. Those are big in Kansas. Before I moved here, I had no idea what they were. That's a steak or a Philly cheesesteak burger. It's a double cheeseburger, and in between two patties of meat, they put a full fucking Philly cheesesteak with the onions and the cheese and the strips of steak and everything in between the double cheeseburger.
Oh my god!
And I've never, like, not even on a joke have I eaten it. I'm sure it'd be fantastic, but I know I'd throw it up.
We have these restaurants, ice cream joints out here on the East Coast called Friendlies. I don't know if they ever made it.
I'm familiar
that far
with
in.
them, but we don't have them out here.
They have a grilled cheese super melt, and it's 2 grilled cheese sandwiches as the bun and a burger in between them, held together with a giant stick.
There you go.